Hello everyone, and welcome to the Final Fantasy Series Relay Race number 8. This is the 8th year we are doing this event, and it's a big one this year, it's a good one. We have more games than ever. We've got 19 games, starting with Crisis Core Reunion, and we'll be ending on Final Fantasy VI. That'll be on Monday. For anyone new to this event, we run through a bunch of Final Fantasy games, all of the numbered games, a few side games, and we have 3 teams of speedrunners running through them. We're expected to go through 4 days, or about 72 hours or so. And yeah, once we have 3 teams, so once one game finishes their game, they go on to the next game. And it's the first team to beat all of the games. And they'll be playing through the games in the same order. And then on the stream, we'll have information to help you sort of track along, see who's winning, see how far behind each team is and stuff. And the teams are balanced to hopefully have a nice and close race. So hopefully that will make sense. I want to give some thanks to the RPG Limit Break channel that we're hosting on, as well as the staff and mods and everyone involved to help organize this, keep the chat nice and friendly, and have some good times. And I also want to thank my co-organizers, Maelstrom and Christinarium, for doing a ton of work. Every year we do this. It takes quite a bit of time, and I think we all enjoy it. But yeah, so just thanks to those guys. As also thanks to the Japanese Restream team. This year, for the first time, we have an official Restream on the Japanese Restream Twitch channel. So thank you for that. I think that's about it. I think we're about ready to go. So if the FF7 Crisis Core commentators want to introduce themselves and the runners, and then we can go ahead and get started.
All right. Hello, everyone. Hope we're ready to have an amazing relay here. I am Freedom Pulse. I'll be one of your commentators here for Crisis Core Reunion. And with me, I have...
SeriouslySurly.
And I'm chefbahm.
I'm Hello Internet, running for Mog.
I'm Goran running for Choco.
AdrianMamba for Team Tonberry.
Awesome. If all the runners are ready, I'll do a quick countdown and we can start.
Sure.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go.
Let's
You're
go.
free. Good luck.
You're free.
Good luck.
Good luck to all the runners. Let's go. All right, so this game starts off right into the action. One of the big things they added to the Reunion version of this game is a cutscene skip. Takes the run down from like a 4.5, 5 hour run to being like an hour and a half. Makes the run much quicker. And so we're just going to start off this fight, showing off the battle system a little bit by just throwing out fires.
Conflict resolved.
It's a beautiful thing, that cutscene skip, though.
Beautiful thing. Although the menuing on it gets a little weird sometimes, and I like to push it just a little bit too fast. And then
I've had that trouble. Yeah, definitely been there.
The menus are just a little less responsive than you'd hope, so hopefully these runners are very excellent. Hopefully we don't see any weird pause menu flubs trying to skip the cutscenes, but it usually happens once or twice.
Yeah.
No, that's funny. Internet got a Firaga level. That's really funny.
Good way to start.
Yeah.
Yes, get the meaningless levels out of the way early, put them all into high jump later.
Yeah, exactly. So leveling in this game is weird. Everything is based around the slot machine you see up in the corner. Where character levels, there is some way you can determine, getting levels with your character, because there is a hidden EXP system in this game. When you get enough EXP to level, the game will set a flag to be like, hey, you can level up now, so you can roll a level. Everything else, though, materia limit break is completely random, and materia levels are a really big deal during this run. Every materia level just adds a multiplier to your damage, if I remember correctly, and so that adds up a lot, even just one, like the difference between level 1 and level 2. So we'll, the materia levels during that first fight, we were using rental materia, and so nothing we got there mattered as far as that. So we're hoping that when we actually start using materia we want to level up, those will we'll see those levels.
High jump, high jump, high jump.
Yes.
Very.
Oh, big fan of Dispel levels personally.
Oh yeah, those
Also
dispel
good,
levels
also
get you every time.
So we're doing more tutorial fights. This is an introduction to the game's mission system. Go for it.
Oh, I was just gonna say an interesting thing that we'll be doing right here too, though, is we're gonna shut off the leveling for a bit by putting on the cursed ring, and it's kind of based on luck later whether we put that back on or not.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit. Hopefully no one has to re-equip the curse string later on. But yeah, this game has a side quest system mostly through missions where you go to an area, you fight some enemies, you get a reward. And now our runners are talking to Kunsel here 20 times. This is how you get the curse ring. The devs threw in this little Easter egg where here you're supposed to be introduced to these lockers where you get items from them between each mission. If you go to this first one, you talk to it 20 times, you get a curse ring. One of you want to explain what the curse ring does?
It's what, +5 to all your stats, and it shuts off the DMW, so you won't be leveling at all, but it does give you a significant strength increase at the beginning of the game to be able to get through a lot of these Wutai fights.
The early stats matter quite a bit.
It makes a big difference.
Even an extra 5, and later we're going to put on something that's only like 10 strength, and it matters.
Yeah, it's absolutely wild how much individual points of stats make and how much of a difference they make.
Well, even with these Wutai soldiers, I mean, you two-hit a lot of them once you have the strength increase, but I've gone through it without the curse ring before just to see, and it takes a lot more just to get everything whittled down in general. So it can add a lot of time on to not be able to just drop enemies quickly.
Activating combat mode.
So here we're gonna see the runners get into the first set of this first gate fight. Also, it introduces a heightened emotions have affected the digital mind wave, except they haven't because it's turned off. Occasionally throughout the story, the game will, if Zack is like thinking about a character more, they'll be more likely to show up on the slot reels. But since there are no slot reels, there is no character increase. But that'll be somewhat nice later. Limits in this game are weird, where in some cases it's really awesome if you get them, other fights you just don't care.
I didn't know Zack was Shulk. So he's really feeling it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like with the limits mostly too, it's like we don't really like using a lot of them except for maybe, you know, the odd time a rush assault or...
Yeah, Angeal, Sephiroth, the multi-hit ones are pretty solid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
limits,
otherwise
like,
you kind of just leave them.
yeah, limits are flashy, and certain limits can do a lot of damage, but they also, you know, pause the game, so a lot of the time you could just kill the encounter faster than you would be able to go through the limit.
Conflict resolved.
Alright, well everybody's into the temple at least now.
Activating combat.
Yeah, so throughout here there's just going to be more forced fights. You end up doing all but 2 of the fights that are in this area, just because there's 2 that are hidden, one and the rest of them you just run into. The strats for most of these are pretty simple. Most of the time the runners are just going to throw out an Assault Twister, one-shot things, maybe throw in a hit or 2 of a combo, or throw out a Blizzard. These Folanders here, the doggos, are weak to ice. They can be a little annoying. Thankfully, we haven't seen it so far, but they do have a habit sometimes. Blizzard's animation is very delayed in this game. And you can just start casting Blizzard, and then the puppers will just run out from under it, and you'll miss, and
Yeah, that's why I
very
like...
silly.
Like, I know I personally, for the first fight, you use the Blizzards, but later on I just saw it with Adrian, I think. You do kind of a 1-2 into an Assault Twister, and it's just safer at that point and quicker. Because I find the ones later in the temple, they tend to move more, whereas the first ones you can kind of lock into a position while you're going.
Yeah, you usually gotta wait for him to move the first time, Blizzard, and then to move a second time, Blizzard.
Yeah.
Again. And by then you can walk up to the doors, so yeah. Couple
You
different
can also
ideas.
dodge roll out of Blizzards, which you see Internet do right there. Just gets you a little bit closer to where you're going. Mostly for Blizzard casts. You're not going to see it a ton later, but it's just cool little detail. The game does that cool slow down on last hit, and it's fun to just see Zach floating in air when it happens.
Conflict resolved.
So here you're going to notice our runners throughout the run are going to be doing some very interesting looking movement. In this game, you actually have a lower encounter rate when you're hugging walls. So a lot of the time you're going to see our runners doing movement that doesn't necessarily look like it's, quote, optimal, because they're not just going from point A to point B. But trust me, the difference between hugging walls and just running straight on is very substantial as far as the encounter rate you get.
Huge.
But the thing is, too, though, it's really knowing where you can just run straight ahead, too, though, right? Because there's times you do want to just cut through, and there's areas that you can just run straight through, but you think, oh, I need to hug the wall, you know?
Yeah, and there's several areas where you're going to get the same number of encounters regardless of what your movement is, and it's also important to know, oh yeah, I can just go for it here, because I'm going to get a fight here regardless.
Yeah, exactly.
The reactor later on is going to be a big instance of that, where you get pretty much the same number of fights every run.
You say
So,
The fight with the twins.
yes, the twins fight.
Oh.
This fight is a big introduction to two things. You see, bosses have ability power, or some enemies have this ability power. It's their individual limit break they can use. Every hit against them is a critical hit when you're hitting them. If you don't break it, though, you get hit by a pretty strong attack. It also introduces, or really shows off, back hits. We saw that a little bit in the Behemoth fight, but we didn't talk about it. Hits against an enemy's back are critical hits, but the back hitboxes in this game are very weird, so...
Yeah. But if you can get there and you're behind them, it's a good thing.
Alright, who wants to talk about the Ifrit fight we have coming up here?
Oh man, the Ifrit fight. I mean, I feel like there's probably two ways people do it right now. And yeah, I was gonna say, I think these guys are probably all gonna do it the same way.
Zach. 2 hit Blizzard Blade, 2 hit Blizzard, 2 hit Blizzard, Blizzard, Blizzard. On and on.
Yeah, well, I remember noticing that, I know Internet and Goran had a bit different of a strat that was developed. And then, I personally was still running off, yeah, the 2 hit, 2 hit, 2 hit, 2 hit.
Yeah, same here. That looks like they're doing the newer strat though, which is, I think I've heard it's a little faster, but also a lot easier to fall off script. So.
Yeah, and I think if you can get it, it's worth it. It's just a matter of, you know, nailing down the sequence.
Yeah,
because there's one part you do have to block and get hit on purpose, I'm pretty sure, but...
I believe so. I haven't seen that. I haven't studied that strat a ton. But, it's like 2 of our runners made it out of Ifrit pretty painlessly. Just waiting on Internet to finish this one up, and...
That's the scary part with that fight, too, though. If you get out of the sequence, it can turn into a real big mess.
Yeah, the fight is interesting because his actions are scripted, but also it can be really hard to figure out where you are on that script. But looks like all our runners made it past Ifrit without any problems, which is nice.
Yeah. It's a nice thing about knowing the script too is you can bounce back in, but if you do get completely lost, it gets real hard.
Oh yeah.
First of our summons down.
Yeah,
and then
we
just
unlocked
before
the
this
ability
mission,
to unlock summons, which we'll never do.
I was gonna say too, just between those missions, we picked up Thunder for the next boss as well, which doesn't get used very much, but has a quick, useful situation here.
Yeah, Thunder's really useful. You fight a lot of robots in this game, and turns out robots tend to not like electricity very much. But Thunder has a very weird hitbox, so...
Don't roll away from the enemy.
Yep.
This fight can be really quick too. It's nice because you run the Thunders, and then as soon as he spiderwebs, just get behind them and finish them.
Yeah, I like how consistent this fight is. So you're either gonna get 3 or 4 lightning thunders off at the start, and then he's gonna attack, and then you can get 3 more, and then he's attacked, and then you can get a couple more, and then he's gonna jump, and then he's dead. It's great. Good
Oh,
fight.
internet picked up an extra fight there on the way.
Oh yeah. Sometimes
that's
you
what we
just
were
get
talking
extra
about.
fights, even
Yeah.
if you try.
That's the unfortunate thing, yeah. Sometimes you're squeezing the wall, you're hugging tight, and you still just clip that battle hitbox, and you just gotta run.
Oh, we have an EM field on internet site too. I have not seen that in a while.
Oh no.
The
Yeah,
spider
sometimes
is
you
giving
just
the
gotta
runners
rip-
the business.
Yeah, sometimes you can get just not a great pattern going.
But looks like it wasn't other than the weird EM field, that wasn't too bad. We do have a bunch of fights with everyone's favorite enemy type coming up though.
Oh yeah.
The assassin type of enemy. We saw them a bit later, or a bit earlier, and we're gonna see them throughout pretty much just the end of this chapter, a little into the next one. They are very slippery.
They are.
And they're
I'm on
knockback. It's brutal.
Yeah. I mean, I've worked. I've gone through a lot of those fights over and over again just to try to find like the most consistent way, and the most consistent way to just get through it, and you still get knocked sometimes. Like it just you can't be helped.
I'll do that fight 5 times, get them in one combo, and be like, oh yeah, it's great. And then like 4 or 5 times in a row after that, they just completely fan out, can't do anything. It's like, oh well, thanks game. Hopefully we won't be seeing that, but this is upcoming is the biggest opportunity for that to happen here. We have the warehouse fight coming up, which is a lot of these assassins, in addition to just a helicarrier, which is a little more of a nuisance in this fight than anything else.
I don't know. I think this one and the one at the bottom of Shinra building are 2 of my least favorite fights.
Oh,
I lose
absolutely!
so much
This is
time in them.
Yeah,
top 3
in terms of
favorite fight in the game for me. This
Yeah,
this one in Shinra HQ easily.
it either goes really well or you lose all the time.
Yeah, runners tend to have the Bahamut split tends to be one of the wildest splits in the run as far as like, oh hey, I saved some time. Oh hey, I lost like 30 seconds.
You know, all your fights up until the warehouse go really well, so you're feeling good, but then the warehouse just goes badly, and you're like, oh no.
Or you have like, you know, best warehouse you've ever had, and then Bahamut just decides to do weird things.
Yeah.
It's great.
Oh, when he slightly turns out of the back hit hitbox, you're just a hair out of it, and you're like, oh.
Well, there goes my damage.
Yep. Try to get an extra assault twister in somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, now we got people getting up to the most fun mini game in the world, right?
Oh yeah, we get to baseball with missiles. Everyone loves that.
Yeah. Big fan
And,
of swinging swords at rockets.
Yeah.
I don't know if it changed for a while, but there was the level 6 run too, and I know for that one, for a while, internet was like, I need to get the money from this, like all of the money.
Yeah, so here during this minigame, you'll see the runners will actually miss one of the rockets, and that's not because they're bad. It's because it's actually faster to miss one of the rockets because you get like an extra text box and extra animation if you hit all 10 of them. And so usually runners will just like miss one kind of in the middle. You don't want to miss the last one because for some reason there's a longer delay if you miss the last one. But, so you'll see the runners. It kind of is random which one runners decide to miss. I miss like number 7 or 8.
I've
First or
switched it
ninth,
up over
depends on my
time.
mood.
Yeah.
I used to do
Sometimes
like
you-
the middle one just for fun. I'd be like, the middle one, just do it right in the middle.
Yeah, it really depends. I saw Adrian miss the first one. I think Goran missed like number 7 or 8. So, just depends.
Yeah, it's just like you said, it's more just to avoid an extra text box and a little bit of an extra animation if it's the last one. So.
And now we have
Oh,
Bahamut, which is probably the most technically scary fight in the run.
It can be scary, but I actually like personally I have a lot of fun with this fight. Like once you
Same.
kind of get the idea down, you know, of getting behind, get as many attacks in, like attacking while you roll into him.
Yeah, once you have
Getting
the fight
behind
figured
him.
out, this is definitely like one of the more fun ones to do technically, but it's pretty scary to
Yeah.
pretty tricky to learn.
Oh, like we just saw there with Adrian.
Yeah, Adrian unfortunately took a stomp. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like that can happen, and that can very easily happen in that fight. Like you're looking for damage so much in this fight. That's why we assault Twister right off the bat before he jumps away, because you're just trying to get in every bit of damage you can.
Yeah, and see, Adrian's going for like just more combo strings than assault twisters, which again is just there's some strats in this game that are very much just more whatever you're comfortable with is whatever you're gonna go with. But sometimes during combo strings, it can be really easy to get caught out by his stomps.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like Goran got out of that fight without too many problems. I
Yeah.
didn't notice anything.
A mega flare.
Oh. Oh no!
Yeah, no. Unfortunate. The thing is with this fight too is, like, you know, you kind of want to end it on average around the second ability burst, but like you can finish it by the time he's casting laser orbs, right? Which or Internet's pretty close. Just missed it by a hair, but Internet almost had the laser orb skip there.
Yeah, the big thing you don't want to see him do is, like, no matter what, you really don't want to see him do what he's doing right now, where he jumps out of bounds and you have to hit him with magic.
Yeah. You always know that's a little bit of time loss, but at that point, yeah, just spam Blizzard and get out of there.
So Bahamut showing off exactly what we mean by being either, like, the nicest fight in the run or just kind of a jerk.
Yep.
I usually like to joke that the run doesn't really start until you're, like, out of Chapter 3 missions, because just so much can happen during the first two chapters in this mission section coming up here.
Oh, yeah.
But now we get to be strong.
Oh yeah, now we're getting introduced to a lot of the mechanics in this game that allow us to become super overpowered.
Activating combat mode.
Yeah, it's actually insane, kind of, how powerful you are throughout this run. Like, you can still have some issues and still, you know, die at certain places, but, like, the way you're going through it with Zack, you can kind of tear through a lot of things.
Conflict resolved.
Yeah, so here we're going to be doing the first 3 of these missions for the Soldier 3rd class missions. Mostly for the rewards for the 3rd mission. The reward for beating the 3rd mission is I believe Diamond Glove is what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's plus 10 to your strength and your magic. And also in that quest you can pick up a Power Wrist, which is another plus 10 strength. Both of which are a huge strength boost. Very, very beneficial to have. You can also pick up an elixir in the 2nd mission, which we sell for quite a bit of cash to fuel our fusions.
It's actually kind of funny, because in a lot of games, elixirs sell for one gil. And it seems to be, in this one, they were like, nope, let's give you some money for them. Which is really nice in the run, because, yeah, that sets up a lot of our fusion in the next chapter.
Yeah, so these first 2 missions are pretty easy. Once we get to this 3rd mission, though, things can get pretty scary.
Yeah, the third mission's...
It's going to be more of these robots. And you can, unfortunately, you can get comboed pretty heavily. Hopefully we don't see that here, but here we're going to see... we're going to be picking up these sprint shoes. Depending on the version of the route you run, you either sell that for more money or I think you do a fusion with it. In other versions.
I was gonna say, I know the route I was running, we just sold it, but
yeah,
I'm not sure.
There's kind of some variations on the materia fusion route you do. Basically, one of the routes has a safer early game, but it's more fusions and so is a little slower. The other has a much quicker. You know, you have less power early on, but you get to save some fusion time. So.
And fusion actually does add up a lot, because, you know, you have to wait for the text box at the end of every fusion. Like, I timed it one day and it actually was, like, significant amounts of time, the more fusions you did. Oh no. The spin attack.
Oh yeah, the spin attack is what we meant. That can 100 to 0 you if you get caught by its first hit.
Yeah, it's just, it kind of corners you and you're done.
Yeah.
Okay,
You can
well,
shot
Goran's
twice
moving
for
on.
one spin attack.
Yeah. Fortunately, you
Oh,
can
no.
retry from the beginning of any fight, but
Another spin attack. Yeah, this
oh
mission's doing
no!
the mission's doing the work right now.
Flying Machine has taken 2 victims this run.
Goran's having a good time though.
Oh yeah, Goran's having
Yeah.
a very good run.
This
2
fight though,
Blizzard
this is
levels,
a,
that's, I mean, that's a neat one.
Activating combat mode.
That doesn't
Yeah, this
matter
was
at
the
all,
other
that's what we
fight.
meant by redundant levels. Oh yeah, lobby fight.
this one can be either great or a big pain.
Yeah, and here, starting in these lobby fights, we no longer have the curse ring equipped, so we can start gaining levels, and this game does have back experience. So, like, we were still getting XP when we had the curse ring equipped, and the game will now realize, oh, you're really far behind in levels, so the game will try to catch us up in levels as best it can. So we're gonna hope to see levels during these fights. And we're gonna hope some of our materia doesn't level. Specifically, we really don't want our thunder materia to level up. Okay, looks like our runners finally made it out of the 713.
Conflict
It always
resolved.
happens eventually. It's just a matter of how much of a pain does the fight want to be today.
Hey, Goran is level 8 coming out of the lobby fight. That's really nice.
Ooh,
That's
yeah, that
Pretty
is
solid,
nice.
yeah.
Ideally, you know, you at least hit level 7 there. Sometimes you end up level 6 for like until the end of the chapter, and it's just really sad.
I like, it's really nice when you get the level 7 in the small fight right before the lobby fight too, just because it
Oh,
gives you
yeah.
that bit of an extra push. Alright, G-Racer.
This is like my random, unassuming fight that I just am really bad at.
I used to be that way and I got a little better at it, because I stopped
Yeah.
power attacking everything and I started assault twisting, which is what Goran was doing right now.
Yeah,
You
this
throw
fight
in
has
the odd
probably-
power attack, but yeah.
Yeah, power attack when he's charging is very nice. The big thing is this dude has like the weirdest back hitbox ever because he stands kind of sideways. So you have to like hit his right arm is his back. But good G racer fight.
And that's
You
our
can tell
first
he's
split.
kind of a villain by how he stands.
Yeah.
That's how you
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
Oh no, we had a thunder level. Got a power attack level on Adrian's side though. That's pretty nice.
It's funny, I'm noticing too, some people still have their elixirs. I used to, in the lobby fight, I used to always accidentally use my elixir trying to get to a Soma. So I just
Oh.
started selling them before, in that menu
Same.
before.
So this menu here, you're seeing, you'll see we bought a bunch of Libras. Libra's very interesting because it adds attack plus to whatever blank materia you fuse it to. So we're going to be taking like all of our materia loadout and we're going to be fusing it with Libras just to boost our attack as much as we possibly can. Unfortunately, the people who... Wow, level 9 coming out of lobby fight, that's really good. The people who did get levels on Thunder have to buy another Thunder to replace that one, because when Thunder levels up, it does get a magic bonus.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no.
Oh, no. Yeah. I'm on a little bit of a delay because I'm watching the Twitch feed, but I'm like, oh no,
Oh,
something's
fair.
happening.
Yeah, no. I saw the fire hit him and I was like, oh, that sucks. Unfortunate. I gotta... These guys are close here though, I gotta watch out.
Yeah.
Activating combat mode.
The reactor, where we just run from everything.
Yeah, the big issue, or the big thing in Reactor to be careful with is the Sahajins have very variable amounts of time with how long they'll wait to attack you. And so sometimes they just run up to you and stab you, and you can take a lot of damage during Reactor while you're just trying to escape from everything. This is one of those places that we mentioned where you're basically guaranteed to get the same number of fights every single run. So the big time save here is just making sure you're not losing too much time trying to dodge or getting hit.
Activating
Yeah,
combat
the
mode.
escapes are make a big difference here. And sometimes, yeah, those guys. I always love when I'm running towards the escape barrier and you see them start jumping after you've hit the escape barrier because you know you have just enough time to get out of there.
Yeah.
Activating combat
Yep.
mode.
Love seeing the pause. They just stand there for a second, and then I see jump text, and it's just like,
Yeah.
yes, it's a free
It's my
one.
favorite. Exactly. That's the best one. You can also, I notice people still dodge a lot too. Sometimes you can get away with tapping like a guard in, and it doesn't lose you as much of the escape bar as like rolling does.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like if you dodge, you're guaranteed to avoid the attack and not lose all of your meter. But again, you lose less meter if you just are able to tap the guard. But if you miss tapping the guard, then you're losing all of your meter.
Then it's a problem. But if you can get that guard tap in, it is really nice.
All right, so here we have the section that always reminds me of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, where you have Sonic chasing, Dr. Robotnik, fastest thing alive, can't keep up with scientist dude. Here we have genetically modified super soldier tries to keep up with random science
Activating
dude.
combat mode.
And this part's interesting. There's a couple fights here that you actually can't run from. This Avenger fight here. And then there's actually an optional fight here that you can get into that you can't run from. Our runner should be able to go around, but if you see the big room, a couple of Roombas, then the runners are going to have to kill that encounter. This encounter's always forced, though.
Activating combat mode.
Alright, no Roombas on Goran's side.
Oh no! As if I
Ooh.
got him.
Oh,
I thought he was good there.
I did too.
yeah,
Activating combat
Usually
That's
Fireblades will
unfortunate.
stagger pretty well.
Yeah, they must have
didn't
just
quite get the
been a little
trade.
behind.
yeah,
conflict resolved.
Alright, there we go. Second time's the charm.
yeah.
Still
Thankfully,
sitting
that was
with
a
a
very
pretty
quick
comfy
death.
lead though there.
Yeah, that death was very quick, so it won't set him behind that much.
Yeah. Well, that's nice too, because yeah, with Fireblade, that's a pretty quick fight.
Yeah. All right, so here we're going to see step one in our journey towards becoming even more overpowered. We're using jump.
Yep, it's a wonderful thing.
That
Also,
Goon, it's great.
in this fight here, this is where you really want to watch for a power wrist drop.
Yes. So
It
there's
makes
gonna
or
be three
breaks your run.
robots. Yeah, there's 3 robots here. This first one we're fighting, the pile machine, the blue one, has a really good chance to drop the power wrist. And if we get the power wrist dropped, then that's awesome. If we don't, then we lose a minute.
Yeah. I was de-rusting the game like a month ago and getting back into it, and I think 5 out of my 8 runs didn't have a power wrist drop.
It's only ever on good runs that you don't get it.
I was just like, oh man, what is happening? I had to go to the phone booth so much.
All right, we got a power wrist on Goran's side, though.
Resolved.
The run is alive.
All right, 1 for 3.
And now Goran's entering into a chapter where like nothing happens, so we can focus on the other runners for a bit.
What do you mean nothing happens? We meet Cereth.
Nothing important happens. I mean, what? We get pickpocketed by a child and get to run through the slums.
Well, we also have a pair of missions to do, so we can become even more overpowered. So
Oh yes, true. That is.
yeah.
So we're gonna be
Something important
2
does
items.
happen.
Yeah, oh, that is true. You are correct. Yes, something very important happens here. Do you want to talk about the two quests we're doing and what we get for them?
Sure. So the first one, we have access to a new set of missions.
Activating combat
The first one
mode.
we're going to grab is item fusion, and this is going to allow us to fuse items into our materia, which seems good. And it turns out that jump is just such a fun ability, we are going to then make high jump. So we just jump higher, and as a result, we're going to do even more damage.
Oh, we got a second power wrist drop, by the way.
Good.
Fantastic.
So that's very nice. And then the second mission we're going to do is just to unlock another third accessory slot, so that we can equip that power wrist that we just picked up, increase our strength even more, do even more damage with our very high jump.
And we got another power wrist.
Hey, we're 3 for 3. Let's go.
3 for 3.
All right. Nobody has to deal with that today. That's good.
Yeah, so if the runners didn't get the power wrist, they would have to re-equip the cursed ring, which means no level ups for the next 2 chapters. And there's a backup to get another power wrist in chapter 5, but it involves checking out an answering machine for like 45 seconds. So
23 different conversations you have to go through that are about 2 text boxes each.
yeah, not fun.
And if you miss one of the dialogue choices, you start from the beginning again. It's not a fun thing to do in a run.
The reason I never learned it.
Yeah.
Yeah, most runners, it will just reset if they don't get it, but in a setting like this, you can't really do that, so...
You kind of just take what you're given.
Alright, good Arachno fight there.
Another fight where you can just die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super AM Field will one-shot you, so you noticed as soon as Super AM Field showed up, Goran, like, backed way off.
It's I was just gonna say it's super cool though. You can it's very tight timing, but you can get in there and like jump over all the EM fields and like not get hit. It's just very tight.
Activating combat mode. Resolved.
Something we didn't mention, this first mission does have a fight with another Eraser, and just as annoying as the first one was. Thankfully you have jump for it, but it's kind of hard to get crits with jump, so... But you
Makes
can
it a
jump
lot
over
safer.
shots, so... Yeah. It's a much safer fight, but tends to be a little slower than the one prior, just because it's a little harder to get crits on him.
Mm-hmm. I always feel good once you get out of these missions, because I kind of feel like, alright, I can get through the rest of the run now.
Yeah.
I have high jump, I can just obliterate everything.
Yeah.
I got the power wrist.
Yeah, you got the power wrist, you've done all your missions, you've gotten through a lot of the, like, messy
Just need to make
fights.
Yeah, just
I
need
can
to make it
relax
to the
until the
end.
state. Yeah.
Everything can fall apart there. It's
Yeah,
fine.
exactly.
Then I'll just get Tri-Thunder God by Regicide.
Oh my god, yeah. Never fails. Get a wicked pace going, and then the Tri-Thunder. Some days you can be ruthless with that too. Like I've had like three Tri-Thundagas like in succession, one after the other, and you dodge one, you dodge two, and you're not expecting the third one.
Yeah, you're like,
Yeah.
oh cool, I win. Wait.
Oh no, my face.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And I'm done.
Activating combat mode. Conflict resolved.
Alright, we have our final runner fighting the Arachno, and we have Goran here about to get to the highway fights. Pretty soon, up here. Pretty soon. Oh.
Oh no, yeah, I just saw that. Again, though, one of those fights that can just take you out if wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah. The end of the mission series for the 2 sets of missions that we do, both are hard.
Yeah,
very, very dangerous.
You notice we went all in on our attack and not in at all in our defense, and so things will do a lot of damage to us. We will make up for that a little bit later on with large amounts of HP, but at the moment we're a little
Very
fragile.
We're low level, we have no defense, we have no health.
Yeah. It's an all-out attack.
But we can jump really high, so it's okay.
Yeah. As long as you can jump out of the way, you're okay. Well, here we go with the highway. That's always a fun one.
Yeah, so when the runners got to Chapter 3, they unlocked a ranking system where if you complete a fight using, abilities and without taking damage, you get a heal at the end of fights. It's very important that our runners do their best not to take any damage during this gauntlet of fights here to make sure they have enough AP for an upcoming boss right at the end of this gauntlet.
I think sometimes throughout the highway I might use one Soma, but you try to just run off of the recovery. Yeah, the recovery.
Yeah. It also just depends on your level, and unfortunately there was whiffed high jump there, which...
Yep.
But it's okay, barrier level.
Activating combat mode.
See? Told you earlier. Barrier levels.
Yeah, so this is G Warrior. This fight's pretty easy, but if you're not careful with checking your AP at the end of the previous fight, then you can end up mashing the high jump button and nothing happens, and you're like,
And you get hit by twin kick. Yeah, I was about to say you get twin kicked.
Yeah, and twin kick stuns you, which makes the fight take even longer. But up next, we have another boss fight, Bahamut Fury, the hardest easy boss in the game.
That's a good way to put it.
I ran this at RPG Limit Break last month, and this fight was the only fight that I died to the whole run.
Oh no! Yeah, I've definitely. It can definitely happen though. That's it's one of those ones you kind of go into thinking, yeah, no problem, everything's good, and then it's not good.
Yeah, a lot of the fights in this game are pretty scripted out until they aren't, and this is one of those fights that is very much on the until they aren't side of that.
I was gonna say, and Goran just got the knockback there, and if you take the knockback in that fight, it kind of really sucks.
Yeah, the hitbox of that swipe attack he just did makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, you think you've gotten around it, and you think you've gotten past it, and as you're trying to get back into your combo, you just get hit.
Yeah, just the third hit that's super delayed just nicks you, and you're just like, ah. But clean Bahamut Fury fight there. So.
Mm-hmm.
And looks
It
like
could be in a helicopter crash, which would be great.
Oh yeah. It looks like Adrian had a pretty good G Warrior fight. It's coming up on Bahamut Fury as well.
The helicopter scene offers your first 10-second break in the run. No.
Yeah, it's like a 10-second black screen where nothing happens. It's great. Time to just grab a swig of water and.
It's a nice thing. It's a short run, so you don't really need, breaks. There is one that comes up that's about 70 seconds, but it is nice that it's a short enough run that you don't really need to run away to do too much.
Yeah, Adrian not even risking the dodge and just opting to block.
Honestly, in this kind of setting, that's probably the smart move, to be honest.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like definitely, because you really don't want to take the full force of that attack, and so in that case, blocking it definitely is the way to go. But that was a solid Bahamut Fury fight. How quickly or slowly that fight goes kind of depends on if he decides to charge up for Exo Flare or not, and sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't.
It's really nice when he does.
Really nice when he does.
Oh yeah. So here in Medeoheim, we're hoping for no random attack emus.
Oh, they're awful.
This is one of those areas where you can just get into a fight even though you're hugging walls. And you can run into these ostrich or emu encounters, and they will be on you and just combo attacks, and it's not a good time.
They will peck at you like there's no tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Activating combat mode.
That wasn't. Well, at least that wasn't them on that encounter, but you got the bugs.
There's one of them, but it was far enough away that it's able to get away.
They can be super aggressive too. It's like, oh, spawn. And in your face, kicking, pecking.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always a good day when you get through there without any extras.
Yeah.
Oh,
no, yeah.
Sneaky.
Yeah, the Metal Gear Solid portion of the run.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So this part, I remember casually. This part was an absolute nightmare. But you're gonna see our runners just like basically sprint through the entire thing and not get seen. There's a couple chests we pick up here, mostly to sell, but one of them, the dispelled materia is very important for the next couple fights. But for the most part, these things we're picking up are just to be sold. They are quite valuable for that.
Good money. Actually, they'll probably get sold right here.
Yeah, we're gonna... You noticed high jump is really strong, but because it's really strong, it costs a lot of AP, which we don't really have. So here we're going to be selling a bunch of stuff for some money. We've been picking up various accessories throughout the run in order to be sold here. We're going to be buying 90 maximum amount of somas, and we're actually going to be making an AP plus dispel. That'll give us AP plus 110%, which will be very nice to allow us to keep spamming our attacks.
Yeah, it changes the whole dynamic of the run. You go from, like, very trying to route your AP and keep it good to, okay, I have tons of AP now.
Yeah. Oh, unfortunately, that you get this fight most of the time.
I found at one point, like, sometimes I would skip touching that save point, and I find if you run straight across, I didn't get it as much as when you do go to the save point.
Alright, so here we have the Genesis fight. This fight's really difficult. Truly hardest fight in the game. You attack 3 times.
Alright, I should have let you sell
twice.
that harder.
You attack 2 or 3 times,
High jump
and you
level
jump
3.
twice. Woo! That is beautiful.
Yeah.
That's so good.
That high jump level 3 is going to be nice going forward.
Yeah, that is...
Higher Nibelheim
huge.
is now free.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like I said, even 1 level on high jump is very nice. Level 3, just basically like the entire second half of the run now is pretty much free, except for the last couple fights.
So luckily everybody got the power wrist drop in this run, but if you didn't, in the bathhouse here that Goran's going into, that's where we would waste a minute to get another power wrist.
Yeah.
Make some calls.
Alright, clean G1 from Adrian. Oh, this is my other least favorite fight in the game, this Griffin.
Oh yeah, it can,
You don't like being pressured?
No, not feeling the pressure, you know?
Conflict resolved.
Yeah, it can be.
I've just embraced it. Just get slapped and
Get slapped, sit there for 10 seconds.
yeah, and then move on with the run. It's fine.
I think the way I do the fight too, even I like block a pressure and just take it and then keep going.
Yeah, I've started blocking it just because his iframes during that attack are ridiculous, so there's no benefit to dodge rolling it.
Yeah. And then Angeal Penance can be an interesting fight. I mean, again, there is a way, you know, there's...
Yeah,
you know the boss's
cleanly, but
AI.
when it doesn't.
Yeah,
exactly.
this fight, yeah, it's very heavily scripted as far as if you do stuff the same way. It's just, there's 1 or 2 parts of the fight that are very timing based.
Don't stand behind him directly behind him for too long.
Yeah, this is the big fight where we were talking about Dispel being very useful to get rid of that barrier he puts up.
Oh yeah, that's a pretty good fight.
Very nice double ability. Yeah, very clean. Good fight.
Conflict
Yeah,
resolved.
clean fight. And a level up.
Beach time.
I was about to say, now we head to the beach.
Like every good anime, this is the beach episode.
I still remember it was when this dropped back in January, people were wondering if they would be able to run with like a mod on, but like just to mod Zach's beach model in. Like no other, it doesn't affect anything else. They just wanted to run with the umbrella and Zach's model.
I was for it.
I mean, I got no issue with it. I think it'd be hilarious.
Conflict resolved.
So there is a sound effect change for the umbrella's max as opposed to the sword hits.
Oh yeah, true. It is more of a thwack sound, which but it has the same strength as your regular
Activating
sword,
combat mode.
Well, yeah.
which goes to prove that the Buster Sword is really more of a bludgeoning weapon than a slashing one. And we have now that we have the Buster Sword, though, we've obtained the other thing that makes the second half of this run pretty easy. Buster stance.
Yeah,
We have achieved our final form.
And it helps a lot with the timing in these Junon fights, actually, because going into the stance, by the time you do with the, what is it, the G, you know, the single G eraser type, yeah, they're almost like the eraser, but not quite. They turn around while you're going into the stance, and by the time you high jump, their back is towards you. So it works out really nicely. And they take the crit, and they're gone right away.
Goran having some fun with the guard animation.
Dance party at Junon. I mean, why else are all these random soldiers here?
But it's clearly for the set that's going to happen later.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh. Adrian with high jump level 4.
Oof, what are... I haven't seen what internet has for high jump right now, but I'm gonna feel bad if he's still sitting at level 1.
It looks like it's level 1 still, just looking at the damage on the Griffin.
Yeah, like that really makes a big difference. Like Nibelheim, when you get there later, like having a high level jump and like a decent Zac level to go with it makes all the difference.
Yeah, difference between one-shotting all the fights and like 2 or 3-shotting.
Yeah.
And the one-shot is a lot faster, because Buster Stance does take a while to charge up, so...
Oh yeah, it makes it... After, you know, the waves of enemies, it makes, you know, there's a good 10, 15, maybe seconds there that just are free or not free.
And now we have General's Tank, which is,
A fight.
Which is a fight.
It is a fight.
This is one of those fights where if you can.
Sorry, he just got blasted right in the face.
Ooh, ow. Yeah, this is one of those fights where if you can get an Angeal or a Song Limit, then you save like 20-30 seconds.
Yeah.
It's worth it. It's definitely worth it.
Because the big thing about Sung and Angeal is that they actually pierce defense, and the big thing with tanks is that they're tanky. Who would have figured? And hitting this guy in the back can be really, really awkward. Just because he does tend to try to beat down on your location. So if you can just get a limit, it's nice. But,
Yeah,
timing.
I was just gonna say, timing the back hits it can be a real big pain in that fight for sure.
Yeah. But now Goran gets to take a break.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get up.
This
walk
is the
around,
break
grab
of
a
the
drink.
run. Yeah. You get about, what is it, 70-ish seconds?
Thereabouts.
Yeah, something like that.
Never actually timed it. I usually just take a minute. Always bad.
Yeah, minute and a half. I usually go for a minute and come back and repeat an enemy unit has breached the perimeter.
Yeah.
Over and over again.
Well, it was funny because when Reunion dropped, I just ran like New Game Plus for fun, and you're already like destroying everything, right? And I would just fight all the fights there, and then I realized everybody else was taking a break, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna sit here.
Hey, internet finally got a high jump bubble.
Hey, there we go.
Excellent.
At least a little boost.
Yeah.
I like this part because, you know, we're supposed to be protecting everybody and
It's
saving
like,
the
no,
world and...
No, just let
Stare at a
Junon take it. Yeah, just let them take it. It's fine.
My favorite part about this is at the end of this mini game here, when like the game does like the kind of ranking thing of how you did. Zac's like, "Oh, so many of them got away. Hollander, you'll pay for this." It's always like, "You'll pay for the fact I stood here and did nothing for a minute. This is all your fault."
Yeah, this is all your fault, but I'm the one that stood here.
Enemy unit has breached the perimeter.
And next up, we get to see the nemesis of Final Fantasy VII speedruns. Good old Guard Scorpion.
Ah, yes.
Another fight that can go a lot smoother if you get a good DMW.
Indeed.
Yeah, not even necessarily just for the limits themselves, but you just unless your level's really good or you just have a stupidly high level high jump, you usually just barely don't have enough AP for this fight. But you do get healed whenever you get a limit, so unfortunately just barely not having enough there finish up the fight, but I'm just getting some combos. If you get one or two limit rolls and they're a high enough level, you can go through that whole fight without having to throw a Soma or anything. And again, if you get Angeal or Song, you can just one shot them.
Now for my least favorite chapter.
Oh yeah, chapters. Is there anyone that likes chapter 7?
I mean, I just call it like the break chapter. You kind of go on autopilot.
Yeah, and then you forget the wood, and then you cry.
Yeah. Oh, I've forgotten the plans. Going back to the church.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I forgot the plans one time, and I sat there mashing and talking to Cereth, and it was just like, oh wait.
Why won't you build the wagon with me?
Yeah, I was like, oh no, I didn't grab them.
Zach is a master builder. Grab some scrap wood, a creaky wheel off of a parked car. And some plans he finds on the ground and hammers together the best looking card ever.
Yeah.
You'll see how much Cereth likes it, because that's where we get to skip the cutscene, so
Yeah.
pay close attention to how joy-filled. Yeah. Goran almost forgot it.
Well, yeah, almost forgot the wood.
It's so easy to run by, like.
Yeah. You're like, oh, that's a nice pile of wood there. Wait.
Wait a minute.
For some reason, the tires are more appealing, right?
Yeah.
I have thought about putting together all of the flower carts and doing that in a speedrun format, just because.
Yeah.
But
Get to do squats.
exactly, gonna show off all the other mini games that exist.
It's what you have to do squats and you have to do the security
Island
force
missions.
competition. Yeah. Get to do the most realistic looking squats ever.
I did a charity run of this a few weeks back, and I just said, I was like, screw it. I was like, I'll do squats. Let's go do some squats. And I sat there and like, I forgot how ridiculous it was.
Right.
And I almost forgot the timing. Like, I didn't. I got used to doing, because it's like every time he drops, you got to hit the button, but like you don't feel like you're really doing anything.
Yeah, and then when he speeds up, there's like one where you don't have to press the button, but and the timing, yeah. Weird mini games.
Yep. It's very Yakuza. It's great.
Unfortunately, no karaoke minigame.
Yeah.
Well, Crisis Core can't be every game. Be rude of it.
It's most of them.
Yeah, it's already Xenogears. It's already an anime episode. It's already Metal Gear Solid.
It can only take up so much of the space, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that cutscene right at the end of the Card Scorpion fight.
Oh yeah. Otherwise,
Those
though,
always
that was,
hurt.
like, a perfect Scorpion fight, though. That was really good.
Yeah, it always hurts though. You finish the fight and then you get like a level up or a cutscene like as you're doing your last hit, and you're just like, why?
Yeah, and if you're like running with the auto splitter, you're like staring at it, like, come on,
Just watching
on.
the time go away.
Aw, Goran didn't confess his love for Kunsel.
Missed opportunity.
I thought that was like you had to do that to finish the run, didn't you?
I mean, it's how I finish all my runs.
Yeah. So now we basically ran to the Shinra office and back, and now we get to run from the Shinra office back to the church. And that's chapter 7.
Yeah, we gotta do my least favorite hallways, this train station.
I got jump scared by one of the kids once. When I was running past, I forgot there were children playing there, and one of them happened to like run right in front of me, and I was like, oh, what the heck?
Oh man.
Children, terrifying.
You shouldn't be
not
here.
alleyways.
Yeah, right. You get really good at this movement, though, between the church and Shinra building here, though, because you do it so many times.
So many times.
So many.
But it's okay, because we almost have a runner out of Chapter 7.
Very exciting.
And now we get to the big FF7 chapter where everything important for FF7 happens. And it's Chapter 8.
This is basically... If you had played FF7 and you came into Crisis Core, this was the part you were going to know, at least somewhat.
Yeah. And it's always funny, given how much these games love to lean into, like, the 7 numerology, that Chapter 8's the important chapter.
Yeah, right.
Missed opportunity, but that's fine.
I mean, we needed to find out that that 7th Heaven was named from some dude that just really wanted to pick up some scrap wood. Valuable lore.
I'm not gonna lie though, like something little like that the first time you're going through, you're kind of like, oh, that's kind of cool, whatever, you know, like at least they gave it a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cute nod.
Goran getting stuck on like the worst movement in the game.
Oh, that's
That movement's so hard. That staircase is
It's
That
the
staircase
worst. It's actually the worst.
It spawns you like just forward of the staircase. You have to like step back a little bit and then go up, and if you try moving too early, the camera changes directions. And
oh yeah, I just got in the habit of like not even holding run at that point. I'm like, I'm just walking till I'm on the stairs and then sprint.
yeah, I'm like, I'm just gonna wait until I see where the game puts me, and then I'll adjust.
Yeah, I always felt like I lost more time trying to do it right than not.
Alright, so the way you judge how your Chapter 8 goes, part of it is how many encounters you get on Mount Nebel here. So,
Mastered high jump. Holy
what?
Yeah, Adrian's got
Oh
the
my
high jump.
goodness.
Where's this luck?
Never see it in a PB attempt, right?
Yeah. No, you get level 1 high jump all your PB attempts. Maybe level 2 if you ask nicely enough.
But that also makes it a lot nicer for if you do get extra encounters here, like more than the average, like you hit pretty hard, so it makes it a little better on you.
Yeah. Yeah, to reiterate, we are runners are, you'll see them hugging the walls here because you have a lower encounter rate when you're running along walls. And we have the safe coming up. Everyone loves the safe.
Safe's my favorite part.
Let's see, which wrong order do I want to do the numbers in today? I'm feeling chairs, pumpkins, apples, books.
I was gonna say how many ghosts are hiding on you.
Oh, 2.
The two on the left. There's I always just like I'm like the second one's behind him. He's got to be.
Yeah.
There's just one on each side.
Yeah.
So the runners here are going to be, when they're going here into the manor, they're going to be checking these doors because they need to figure out the safe combination, because behind the safe is a mastered vital slash with plus 15 strength on it, which is nice. Huge. And then you can combine that with the power slash and get another plus 1 strength. So they have to count what they see behind these rooms. So here they're counting ghosts. You see, yep, there was one hiding right there.
Yep. Never fails.
So the ghosts are the worst because there's like potentially 3 or 4 ghosts that are hiding outside of where you can possibly see them. And you can only see them if they happen to like do like a little flip. And sometimes they just don't do a little flip for a while. And so you end up just staring at them for 20 seconds like, I know there's one there. And
Sorry, go ahead, finish.
Oh, yeah, and so we checked 3 of them. The books, the 4th of the combinations is always 4, 5, or 6. So we just don't even bother checking, and we just kind of guess in order.
Exactly. And also with the apples, you don't really have to look to the left side of the screen because there's always one over there. You can kind of just count the ones on the right half, the closer to you side of the screen. Just saves a little bit of time there.
Oh, we got a 4 and a 5 for the book count.
Huh?
That's going pretty good. No one's had to do up to 6.
Yeah, it always feels bad when you have to go to 6.
For a while,
then
I
you-
was doing 4, 6, then 5. Just because, like, I kept getting 6s, so I was like, no, that's gonna be my second one for now.
Well, what's even worse is when you get up to when you're to the point where you're having to guess 6, you start second guessing yourself. Like,
yeah,
did I
that's
miss a
when you're like,
pumpkin?
you're like, did I get something wrong here? What do I gotta do?
So you're panicking the entire time you're typing the last code, and then you get it. You're like, oh, okay, and then you miss it. You're like, oh no.
Resolved.
Being able to one-shot the death claws is so nice.
Oh
that is
yeah,
very nice.
because that's one of the, like, if you get a lot of death claw encounters, that can be a real big pain on this trip, like the trip down or up.
Yeah, the vast majority of the time you cannot one-shot the death claws, so being able to do that.
They're very tanky in comparison to the rest of the creatures.
Then we gotta go into cutscene reactor.
Yeah. How many cutscenes is it? Like 7? 6? 5?
A
I
lot,
think
a lot.
Total, there's like 16 between the before and after fight. It's too many.
Yeah.
Skip, and then you have the random DMW increase, so you have to,
Yep.
Yeah, you
Skip
can't
through
mash
that
start for that.
Don't pause your game there. No, mash through it.
Yeah. Yeah, you probably spend more time skipping cutscenes than you actually do fighting Sephiroth.
It's true, yeah, and that's a big part of that Vital Slash that we got from the save. Makes all the difference here with the strength increase and using Vital Slash to whittle down his health and try to beat Heartless Angel.
Yeah, so if you're really precise on your Vital Slashes, you can just barely kill him before Heartless Angel lands, or if you happen to roll Octa Slash. You can just barely kill him before Heartless Angel lands. Oh, we're not gonna go for it. All right.
Yeah,
But,
I really like getting into the rhythm there and being able to you see Heartless Angel pops up on the last hit, and you're like, okay, we're good.
Yeah, if the attack lands after you've landed the final hit, then you'll block it. But no big deal. You just have to throw some high potions at the beginning of this fight, and then you can get right back into the rhythm of it. Sephiroth only goes down in 3 hits here, and had some really good luck with him trying to charge Octa Slash there. So good Sephi fight.
Adrian tried to beat the Heartless Angel there, and
didn't quite
Or
get
did
it.
it just a little bit? Yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately that summon animation just has iframes for days.
And skip, and skip.
Yeah, and skip.
Skip.
And Cloud does something, and skip, and picture. Yay!
Oh, internet up to 6.
I guess it had to happen to somebody.
Yeah.
Did yours
Oh,
fit
no.
the 4? Oh no.
We had 4, 5, and 6. Oh no!
He's going back for the look. Oh
Yeah.
no. I hate that feeling. It's happened
hate
100
that
times to me, and like you're just like, oh.
She's like, no! Yeah. It's usually
counts?
pumpkins.
I know how to count.
But based on the fact you went back like right after looking at the apples.
Yeah. Hopefully that's what it was, and he knows.
Activating combat mode. Conflict resolved.
Oh, that single pumpkin that pops up in the soldier outfit room. Every once in a while, he just doesn't.
Yeah, and like you ride that for weeks. You're like, it happened once, it's gonna happen again. Oh
you
no!
just hope for it every time you go in, and it just never happens again.
Yeah. We're having some password issues here. What's...
Oh no. Yeah, that's one thing in this run that just gets you.
Conflict resolved. Activating combat mode.
Okay, finally got it.
Excellent. Made it through. Another nice
Hardest boss of the
benefit.
game completed.
Yeah.
Conflict
Well, unironically, that fight, that save,
Oh, it's so stressful.
Activating combat mode.
it's killed about as many runs as Sephiroth has.
Yeah. We get to see another benefit of having our very high level high jumps. These poor Shinra soldiers aren't doing so good.
Yeah, normally you have to charge an Assault Twister, but if you have a high enough level high jump, you can just save seconds every single attack.
Now we get to dress up our blonde buddy here.
Yeah.
Activating combat mode. Conflict resolved.
So now we're Barbie because we're playing dress up. This really is every game. Cloud's.
If only we
Cloud's
actually got If only we got to drive the motorcycle at some point, then we'd have a car racing game involved too. Like so close.
Yeah. See, and this is the FPS part of the run.
Exactly.
Except we're not actually going to do any of it because that part's slow and annoying.
Yeah, there's a bunch of snipers on the ground here that you can shoot all the robots in the distance with, but yeah, slow. So we just ignore it. Certainly nothing bad will happen from leaving them there.
Oh, definitely not.
Oh, that was weird.
We are very quickly approaching the part of the run where it's going to be just like boss fight after boss fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole last few minutes.
Yeah, this sniper section's really like your
Lol.
like one of your last parts of the run to just kind of breathe before you enter the final gauntlets.
It's nice too, because it is a mini game. Like you can get through it almost with no problem without getting extra encounters. But again, it's hugging the walls, getting out of the way.
Yeah, sometimes you'll just get an extra one anyway, but you're powerful enough at this point, it's just quicker to just kill things than to run away.
Exactly.
And here we have G-Eliminator, where we will continue to high jump.
That seems good.
Yeah, high jump is your friend. Until Assault
we
Twister
beat
Plus
the
becomes
Heartless
your friend.
Angel on internet side.
Nice.
And it looks like Adrian's actually closed up this race a little bit. During the,
Oh yeah,
Been catching
Adrian's
up.
been chasing
On a
pretty
tear.
hard. Yeah.
We're gonna go and do our last menu here. We're gonna find a shop in a box first of all.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
I mean, where else do you find shops?
Yeah. Look, there's a shop in a box. Cool.
Yeah.
And now we
Just
can buy
hit-
some really good materia.
Yeah, because we kind of need magic for a fight coming up, and we haven't really been using it at all, so thankfully you can just buy Aga spells.
Yeah, because what's magic up until this point, right? Couple thunders and a couple fires.
Yeah, some fires and thunders early on, and then we learned how to jump.
Ooh, that's a really good pattern for the
Yeah, the
that
double
fight.
away.
The hilltop,
Very nice.
yeah.
Yeah, they can either split up or stay together, and if they stay together like that, you can just take them out very quickly. If they split up, it might be a little more difficult.
Yeah, you want to be damaging them both as much as you can, because it can be a very, very quick fight.
Yeah. So high jump has served us well. I don't know if Goran fuses high jump away here or not. Oh, the DMW of shame twice. Runners here can either opt to fuse away high jump or fuse away the jump. Looks like we do have a jump, so that'll probably be fused away and keeping high jump. Oh no, we're fusing it away for Assault Twister Plus. So we're making Assault Twister Plus here as our main damage for the last couple of bosses, along with making barriers that give us a lot of HP. because the last couple of bosses really hurt, and we can't avoid taking damage against them. So we really want to just have as much HP as we possibly can.
Yeah, the health makes, you know, going in there without that HP plus is that's a dangerous game to play.
Yeah. And then we're gonna fuse a Blizzaga for with the attack boost on it from the thunder we've been having, and that's our loadout for the rest of the game. We have a couple bosses left and a very quick run through a dungeon.
We got health up, we got AP up, and we just have damage. Damage.
Activating combat
An interesting thing with this Hollander fight is if you don't move right at the beginning, all your inputs are locked.
Yep.
It's really annoying. So you kind of have to take a side step or a forward step as soon as the fight starts. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck mashing buttons for no reason.
What's even worse is he has the most effective evasive technique of moving slightly to the left. Because Vital Slash is a very narrow hitbox, so if he takes like 3 steps to the left, you're completely whiffing, and then that becomes a very different fight. You saw there, he did nothing to us that whole fight. That isn't always the case. But that's chapter 9 done. Goran's entering into the final chapter. Well, oh wow, actually,
Adrian's actually
Adrian
gotten ahead. Yeah, Adrian pulled ahead.
Just had a better Aga menu there.
Yeah. Let's go. This has become quite interesting.
Yeah, so this last area, the runners are just gonna be picking up some key items, some goddess materia that will act as the 7 keys to the door. Again, haha, funny 7. And friendly reminder to everyone: dumb apples only grow in Benora.
Yeah, indeed. And although, you know, very unlikely because we do this so many times and you go through, but you really don't want to miss one of these boxes.
Yeah. There's the room coming up here, the Lake of Ruin or whatever it's called, is very, very easy to just accidentally not see a box and just miss it.
You get turned around a little bit and suddenly everything looks a little foreign.
Well, and sometimes you think you've grabbed them all too and you just keep going, right?
Yeah.
If you haven't grabbed one of those.
I've definitely turned the camera on and been like, I have never been to this room in my life. What?
Where am I?
Yeah. I have no memory of this place.
There's a whole dungeon here that I didn't even find in my first playthrough. Just found the chest too fast and it's like, oh yeah, there's a jail over there, and I could go push more buttons, then I just stumbled across all the chests and found the boss and like, oh. Okay. I guess.
This works.
Alright, so we're both runners, our 2 runners here in the final dungeon are approaching the exciting fight.
The best fight in the run, right?
Yeah, we're about to fight G Regicide. This is the fight we've been joking about. This fight will either go super well, or we might see a rise in our death count very drastically. Hopefully it's the former, and we don't see Tri-Thundaga. So Tri-Thundaga will one-shot us unless we're guarding with Buster Stance. However, Tri-Thundaga has, like, no wind-up at all.
Oh, Adrian's good. There we go.
Whew. Yeah, like I said, you can't block the Tri-Thundaga if you're in Buster Stance.
Oh, man.
Everything's fine. Don't panic.
Yeah, but I was clenching a bit during that fight.
That was scary. But we made it. No one died.
Made it through.
With that barrier level up, very important.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That is probably the most important thing that could happen at this point.
All right. Now G Avatar. So we mentioned a lot earlier. When you get a hit on the backside of an enemy, you get a critical hit. This sword's back quote is random.
Can be anywhere really. Well, any of the sides really.
Or
it
nowhere.
chooses a spot.
Yeah, it chooses a spot and it stays there, or it could just not be anywhere.
That does happen. And the whole DMW freakiness of it. Sometimes if you use a DMW, it'll just disappear.
Yeah, just
so you
don't
kind of want to
pick
be
DMW.
careful. Yeah, you
Yeah.
want to be careful with your DMW here.
Or
Yeah,
if you
very
do
important, we never
Lucky
use a limit
Stars,
during this
get your
fight.
crit back.
Yeah, or just
exactly.
use Lucky Stars 5 and you're good.
But otherwise, you kind of want to just not touch it.
I'll get the ability power.
Yeah, you can get some good damage during this. Unfortunately, it's very rare, but you can actually break the ability power. Doesn't happen very much. It's nice when it does, but you don't take much damage from Purgatorial Wave anyway. Oh, we got a jump level up.
Yeehaw. And looks like Adrian's through.
Yeah, so we'll be approaching the final boss, which should only take about 20 seconds, and that'll be time for Adrian.
It's kind of fun. We have the super hard fight, the super cinematic fight, and then we have Genesis. Just end it.
G2 is an interesting fight because it does end very quickly, but sometimes just stuff happens.
Yeah, it can. Well, he can be slippery like the G Racer, right? Too.
Yeah. Yeah, ideally you're able to just stay on him and keep him in the corner and he doesn't do anything the whole fight, but sometimes he can just do the wrong set of moves and that doesn't quite happen. But
And there we go.
yeah, so yeah, that's time for Team Tonberry. And it looks like Team Chocobo is right on their heels. Just finished up G Avatar, gonna start G2.
Not too far behind. That was a good run though. Nice, Adrian.
Yeah. GG's Adrian.
Activating combat mode.
Final Fantasy 2 up next.
And just as
There we go for Goran.
yeah, GG to Goran, and just as Internet start in Chapter 10.
That was a nice close finish on those two. It's too bad the internet had some issues with the safe because I feel like it would have been a nice three-way finish almost without that.
Yeah, that was a really close race up until some of the safe shenanigans. So shame that happened, but great race to all the runners.
Oh yeah, 100%. But again, nicely with this game, you know, he's still on the last chapter and not too far off.
There's a great music shift right as you walk into the final room. So we have the nice ambient music, and then it kicks it into gear right as you enter the final space.
Yeah.
That's very good.
Yeah, it times out perfectly where you just get to hear just enough of the song to right when you get to the end. And we have Internet on Regicide now.
Yeah, the final gauntlet.
So we saw a very rude Regicide and a fairly nice Regicide. Let's see what we have on this final one.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Looks
using
like,
the jump strats on it.
Yeah, doesn't want to
is
risk
safe.
hitting the Thundaga.
Which I don't blame him.
Yeah. And you
That's
still
nice.
basically do max damage there as well, so that's...
Yeah,
and there it was.
Jumped right over. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it worked out perfectly.
Perfect.
Oh, and a high jump level right there too.
Too late.
No longer
dude.
using high
Too
jump,
late.
but there's your level. Hi guys, am I late?
I was gonna say, you know, at least everybody got some high jump level ups.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we get to see a smooth Avatar into the final fight, and that'll be
And
that.
Yeah, and we'll be able to kick it over to the FF2 people. We're almost there. You know, standard GA fight. Nice, good spot.
A nice
for the
crit right
weakness.
away. Yeah. I love when you just move in and it's right there.
That's so nice. It's so nice to not have to look for it.
Yeah. Oh, Blizzaga, you level up,
That's
yeah.
kinda cool.
Good.
No pun intended. Looks like we're doing high jump for this fight too. Probably just wants to
Nervous
play
for
it
getting
safe.
Slashed. Yeah.
Yeah, those Reapers, we mentioned before, AI in this game can be very incredibly variable. Another Blizzaga level.
And you really don't. I was gonna say, during the GA fight, you really don't want to take a death to those Reapers because it's a long fight, like relatively in this game to get back into.
Yeah, this is definitely like the longest boss in the game, and you really don't want to die right at the end because the Reapers can just be super aggressive and just kill you. And there is an unfortunate bit of a delay on when you use elixirs, so if you don't preempt the elixir enough, sometimes you can just die even when you're trying to.
Seen
Trying
it
to
have it
recover.
happen countless times.
Yeah.
And there we go, through GA.
Yep, we're done with GA now. It's G2, and then we'll be bringing it home.
It's kind of funny, I just peeked over at like the RPG Limit Berry feed and it's just seeing the FF2 and the Crisis Core, like just two different eras of games, you know?
Alright, looks like Internet has a good setup. Keeping Genesis right there in the corner. Using the jump to hop over the homing shot.
Yeah.
Dancing Sword's the attack you kind of don't want to see, but
It'll
able
happen.
able to get the dodge.
There we go.
And that's GG.
GG's.
He was a little.
Congrats
Very
again
nice.
to the Crisis Core runners, and thanks to
Yeah.
my fellow co-commentators. It was fun, and
It's a good time.
Had a great time.
yeah, have a
Good
great
luck
time.
to the rest of the runners, and enjoy Final Fantasy 2.
Yeah.
Enjoy the relay.
So yeah, GG's to the Crisis Core crew. Welcome to Final Fantasy II. I am Cereth11, and with me here is Captain of the Dorks, and we will be helping you all through this journey of, I would say, not a very well-received Final Fantasy, but also a very fun Final Fantasy, for my opinion.
Oh, definitely. It's very interesting in how 2 is put together compared to pretty much all the other Final Fantasies. Just right off the bat, you might have already seen our progression here. It's not a standard level progression. They do get HP ups as they do get experience, but it is centered around getting skill ranks using different weapons. I believe all of the runners are going to be using sword skill ranks and just fist skill ranks for the majority of this run.
Yes, they are. And speaking of what the runners are doing, let's go ahead and introduce the runners. We have Talbrik, we have Poorscythe, and we have Seri17723. And right now, Seri is well ahead. As for the lore up to this point, the heroes here ended up getting absolutely destroyed by Black Knights after Finn was captured by the Emperor, and they were found out on the field, but you may notice one of the characters is missing. Leon has been captured in air quotes, albeit he is playing a different role now. And so the party is comprised of 3 members as it stands: Furion, Maria, and Guy. Now, Guy normally is going to have your HP growth. Furion's more of a hybrid. Maria tends to stand in the back row using bows and more white magic than anything else, as she gets the highest spirit gain of the party. But in this case, they're going to be doing a little bit of everything. Now, as for the lore up to where Sari is at, the runners had to go back to Castle Finn, or not Castle Finn, but the town of Finn, because there were rumors of one of the rebels actually still being alive there, and it turned out to be Scott, who gave a ring and asked for a message to be delivered to Hilda, and in turn actually asked for that message to not be delivered, as he didn't want to break Hilda's heart even more. And after they get back, talk to Hilda, they learn the keyword Mithril, and in order to talk to Scott, they had to learn the keyword Wild Rose, which the keyword system is a completely new thing to this Final Fantasy in and of itself, and the only time that it has been used. And then after learning Mithril, learning Dreadnought, talking to everybody, they are then able to recruit Minwu, who has a canoe in his pocket somehow, and now are able to progress through the story.
It's okay for Minwu to have a canoe in his pocket. We already set that precedent in the FF1 with the Sage also having one in his pocket. I guess they're pocket size.
You know, that would make sense. But as Captain said, sword levels are going to be very important on Furion, where Maria and Guy are going to be focused on unarmed levels, as the early game in and of itself is going to be more focused on melee damage over using spells or anything else like that. And the formula for which the skills advance is a little bit strange. I still don't remember all of the nuances of it, Captain. Do you remember all the nuances of the leveling system?
So the long and short of it is you need as many hits as the level you have. So if you're level 1, you need 1 hit to get progression towards that skill. If you're level 2, you need 2 hits in a battle. After you get your 2 hits in, if you get a 3rd hit, it doesn't really progress the ability as much as if you get just the number you need. But you do get a little bit of extra experience, but it's generally not that much. And then there's a ranking of enemies as well. So later on, as we get more powerful enemies, they do help out, where 1 hit will equal 2 towards that progression instead of 1. So it can get a little confusing in that nature.
And there you go with the nuances of the leveling system. And that also applies to spells, unless you can cast them on the field, like Cure, Life, Esuna, etc. However, there is one spell that will be abused very heavily later that, for the most part, we'll be using from tomes.
And of course we have Minwu with us to do all of our white magic healing early on in the game, so just a free revive, a free cure if we need it for the team. And with that, as you learn spells, they do rank up just like swords or fists or bows, so they do get more powerful. So Minwu, having already reached level 8, I believe, on cure, has a lot of healing power early on in the game.
So, the dungeon that Seri is in right now is the Summit Falls. This is where the Mithril is located, as well as where the first boss of the run is going to be. The whole reason that Unarmed in and of itself is being worked on more than anything else, as the broadswords that Farian have won't really cut it for taking down the first boss, which is the Sergeant. But as you can notice with Unarmed, it gets very powerful very quickly.
Yeah, in general, they're looking to get to level 4 and 5 for these skill ranks here. If they don't get it, we're going to see lower damage on our first kind of boss, Sergeant. And later on, it kind of just does the same amount of thing. We need to reach certain ranks, because poof, once we reach rank 5, for example, then it goes from doing 50 damage to doing 200, 300 damage.
And it can just continue to go up from there.
The interesting about swords as well is as they get more ranks in swords, the accuracy goes up. And the pre-patch version, it used to be 100% for status effects applying, so we'll get some swords that can apply status effects. In the post-patch world, which if anybody remembers from the last relay, the patches came right for last relay. It doesn't hit 100% of the time, so getting that accuracy and getting those ranks helps with the application of those status effects.
And we'll see some of the status effects be used later on in the run, as there are 2 very specific swords that are going to be picked up in order for them to be applied. It is so nice that Minwu comes with basically every spell you would want here at the start. And here we go, the first boss here, the Sergeant for Seri. It's going to be nothing but attacking, and you're going to see the magic of these unarmed levels come into play. And one other thing to mention with the Pixel Remaster is it does have the ability to auto-battle. And that does allow a lot of things to just become almost exponentially faster than if you were playing, say, the Famicom version or the GBA, PlayStation, or PSP version, even. Seri's made it through Sergeant just fine, and Poorscythe has made it through the Sergeant just fine as well. So 2 of our 3 have made it through, no problems at all, and Talbrik has just entered the Summit Falls. All in all, I'd say things are looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, this is the first big leap, the first big level progression here. Next it's going to be in the snow caves. And then after that, the majority of runs, I believe, don't use a lot more random encounters. There are still a few, and we still obviously have to take all the bosses, but the majority of the skill progression happens early on. And then it's essentially just how fast can we get out of battles and run away.
Exactly. Now, after obtaining the Mithril, they're going to head back to the airship here, as well as the boat. Take the boat back, go over back to Altair, and turn in the Mithril. That mithril is then going to be forged and allow for the next part of the story progression to happen. It looks like Talbrik's having a pretty good Summit Falls here. Alright, so Mithril gets turned in here to Tobal, and he ends up just making all sorts of better weapons and armor. And it does give the runners the ability to buy the equipment, but it's not really going to be necessary. Now, Poorscythe is making a stop in here to grab a fire and a blizzard tome. And those will absolutely be used later.
Yeah, it's interesting because the bare bones route I know picks up the free fire tome in Summit Falls. Interesting that he picked up fire and blizzard tome as well.
I think it might be more of a safety thing. So, Sari is now heading to attempt to stop the Dreadnought here. And has to come over here to the town of Bafsk in order to do so, as this is where it's currently located. It's been under construction. And while here, they have to go through this cave, which resembles more of a sewer system, in order to actually get to the back and try to stop the Dreadnought from lifting off and destroying everything. Also, I love the town names in this game.
Yeah, Palum, Poofed, Bafsk.
Of course, the town that pretty much everybody knows, Mysidia. Since it is in so many different Final Fantasy games.
And we're going to pick up the chest there, which is a bow we can sell later for money.
As money does play a big role later on. It's like Sari is getting some fantastic quick runs.
Yeah, well, looks like Poorscythe is taking additional encounters here. And we have Talbrik on the Sergeant fight.
Yeah. Talbrik definitely made some good time here getting to the Sergeant. So, unfortunately, getting to the back of the Bafsk Cave in order to attempt to stop the Dreadnought does not pan out. The Dreadnought gets completed, lifts off, and starts destroying a few of the towns on the map. And so that leaves the party in a bit of a state of panic as to how they're going to stop it and bring it down. But as they say, when there's a will, there's a way. Inside of this chest that Sari just opened is the pass. The pass is an item used to board the Dreadnought in and of itself, and that's going to come into play very, very soon. As that is going to be one of the necessary items in order to destroy the dreadnought.
Yeah, it's very interesting that they decided to use keywords and key items pretty heavily in Final Fantasy II.
Yeah, definitely made for a very interesting system that we haven't seen used again since this one. And I do like that Poorscythe has been opting to take more encounters in order to probably be absolutely certain about weapon levels and make sure that he is at the prime spot for each fight that happens.
Also going to get a lot of HP, a lot of extra gil. It's gonna turn out better for some fights here.
And that extra gil, oh my gosh, does it help out. So as you can see, the town of Altair got absolutely destroyed by the dreadnought. It went on a bombing run, and this is what has happened to the town in and of itself. So many of the buildings are just damaged almost beyond repair. And so with that in mind, it is time to continue on in the quest. Talbrik just making it back to Altair in order to have the Mithril forged into weapons and armor, and now is ready to continue on over to Bask and attempt to stop the Dreadnought. So here is this Final Fantasy's iteration of Sid actually being talked to in order to teach the keywords of the airship and the Sunfire. The Sunfire is what happens to power the airship's engine, and if too much Sunfire is added to one of the airship's engines, it will cause it to overload and detonate. This is actually one of the things that's going to be vital in destroying the Dreadnought, as now it is time for a trip back to check on how things are back here in the home front.
Unfortunately, this is where we part ways with Minwu, so no more free heals, no more free revives.
But he did a great job while he was in the party. And unfortunately, the king has fallen gravely ill, and that is why Minwu is staying behind, is to take care of the king, attempt to ease his suffering. And in talking to the king, you, I believe, learned the term Goddess's Bell, if I remember correctly.
Correct, yes.
And he tells you about the Goddess's Bell, what it does, how it opens up the door to Kashuan Keep, and allows you to have access to the Eagle's Torch, which the Eagle's Torch is what is needed to obtain Sunfire properly. So now that we're down one party member, you know, Captain, how would you feel about getting another party member?
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed.
But first, a little bit of shopping just to get stocked up on some supplies. And the next party member that we get is going to be Joseph. Now, Joseph is what I would call a bruiser. I mean, he is purely unarmed combat. And very, very good at it.
He also has a lot of HP, which is very nice.
It really is. Now, Joseph has quite a few very good roles to play here. One of which is coming back to Submit Falls and picking up a very important item called the Snowcraft, which, you know, I just call it the snowmobile because that's what it really is.
There are a couple spoilers. They come from Final Fantasy IX, but the story you actually learn with Rama from 9 is taking part right now with Joseph. So here's the one of the largest nods to 2 from 9 with what's going down in our snow area with Joseph.
All right. So the Snowcraft has been obtained, and now it is off to, well, the snowfields in and of themselves, since we're able to cross them. Inside of these snowfields will be a cave that holds the goddess's bell. And as such, we absolutely need to get through it and obtain the bell in order to be able to enter Cache 1 key and finish our quest to destroy the Dreadnought, as that is currently our main objective.
So our snowfields is about where we start getting the higher ranked enemies. We're going to do a lot more for our skill ranks. So this is one of the places that you'll see a lot of routes. Just take every single encounter you can get. It also ramps up the HP and just money for the rest of the game. This gets you to where you need to be. The rest being just pickups from different chests for a few other key items, but this is usually our last area where we take every single encounter we can get.
Yeah, because these enemies are rank 2 in and of themselves, as well as rank 3, if I do remember that correctly. And
I think, yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
Oh, I was going to say, and as Captain mentioned earlier, with the leveling system, the ranks of the monsters does matter a whole lot towards advancing the weapon skills or even magic skills, so on and so forth. But yeah, I think it's just rank 2 enemies here.
The Adamantos at the end might be rank 3. I'm not entirely sure on that, but that's also another great one to just essentially sharpen Furion's sword against.
Indeed.
So just paying attention to who we have using what, it looks like, I want to say everybody is using Furion for sword ranks, and then everybody else is barefisted.
Yeah, Furion is the swordsman right now, where everybody else is just using their fists, getting as much out as they possibly can.
There's another route that essentially is relatively new, which is taking the idea of using Guy to hold the sword. So it looks like we just have the more tried and true Furion method here.
You could call it the classic route. So Talbrik's about to pick up the snowcraft here. Just picked up Joseph not too long ago, while both Sari and Poorscythe here are running through the snow cavern, approaching the adamantoids fairly quickly. And adamantoids is going to be a pretty simple fight.
Well, depending on, again, stats effects aren't 100% anymore. So as long as the status effect Curse lands, that we're hoping to pick up from a sword here, Adamantoids usually can go pretty well, but if Curse doesn't land, which sometimes it doesn't, it can get a little bit dicey.
That's why I'm saying it's going to be a pretty simple fight. But yeah, with the patch that came up prior to last year's relay, causing the status effects to no longer be a 100% chance, this is one of the fights where that element of RNG is going to come into play.
One of the more pivotal and, I guess, advantageous things that happened is targeting when an enemy dies. So pre-patch, it used to be if you killed an enemy with your first hit, so Furion gets 2 hits because he has 2 swords. If you kill an enemy with his first hit, he'll go on to the next one, essentially potentially killing 2 enemies in once. You might ask, oh, that sounds great, but for skill ranks, if Furion is able to still hit the same target even though it has essentially died from taking too much damage, now that leaves an extra enemy to be targeted by our punching characters. So it allows for a much quicker ability progression, or skill progression in that effect. So that essentially makes that faster, and I believe also fleeing became a little bit faster as well. So post-patch, they took away the 100% stats effects, but made the skill ranking a little bit more nuanced and able to progress faster.
And it's definitely helped with the overall speed of this game.
So we'll see someone go down here on Sari's screen. The caves, we usually pick up 1 life tome, and we don't teach it to anybody until we have someone go down, because we need to decide who's going to get the ability to learn life. Usually it's going to be either Guy or Furion who's going to learn life. Sometimes, if you get unlucky, you might give it to Joseph. Joseph might have to learn life, which is unfortunate because Joseph is a temporary party member. Just one of the kind of choke points of this early game.
So Poorscythe opened up this chest that was a monster in a box, and this box has the Ancient Blade, if I remember correctly, and this is the sword that will apply the curse status if it does happen to land.
Yep, that's where the fire tome we picked up in Falls comes from. It's an easy cast, and all enemies go down.
And if you noticed, when the fire tome was used, it didn't cast the initial level of fire, which would be 1 if you learned it. Instead, it cast fire 8, which was far more powerful and able to take out all of those enemies in one shot, as you see on Sari's screen. Just that slight boosted power in and of itself from using the tome as an item versus learning it and having to level it up from there, it saves a lot of time.
Oh, definitely. That's probably one of my favorite parts of speedrunning Final Fantasies is we just get to essentially break items to cast levels of spells we have no right casting in a speedrun.
For sure. It's one of those moments that if you've played this casually, you look at that and you go, I could do that? And the answer is yes, you absolutely could. But it's not something that you really think about when you're playing casually, unless you're really, really diving deep into a strategy and absolutely need to use it.
So we got both Seri and Poorscythe in our final room, making their way down to the bottom right-hand side of the screen to Adamantos.
The good old turtle.
So this is where we're hoping to see the ancient sword hit here. The big dead giveaway is suddenly we'll go from hitting for anywhere between 0 and 50, depending on the character, to just being able to smack for 200-300 damage.
Which, Poorscythe, I do think actually got the curse off, just got low damage rolls. But the Adamantoise in and of itself is what's blocking the Goddess's Bell. Pulling the Goddess's Bell brings the staircase down, and this is the quick path back to the first floor of the snow cavern. Let's see if Seri gets lucky with the ancient sword.
It looks like it did land here right at the end. It's usually how it goes. Adamantos has, I think, somewhere in the 400s of HP. So usually once you get curse off, that's the end of the fight. That's all she wrote.
And Borgin, very easy fight. It doesn't take very long to defeat. And he's just trying to keep us from leaving the snow cavern, and gets defeated just to trigger a booby trap and attempt to end the party. You know, I'd say before the game's really even begun. But Joseph, being the awesome man that he is, stops the boulder, tells Fury and Maria and Guy to run, and unfortunately gets pushed by the boulder and passes away. That is the end of Joseph.
Yep. And that essentially is the entire story that Ramuh teaches you in 9. For those of you in chat familiar with that, hero or human? What's our choices there? Hero or human?
When I played FF9, which was well after I played FF2, I chose hero.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, for those of you that...
Oh, go ahead, Captain.
For those of you that don't know, from 9 you can choose either one to progress the story, but it does put together kind of 2 different moralities of stories, depending on how you want it.
Yeah, I never did a playthrough with the other morality of the story. I need to, though. All right, everybody has made it through the Adamantoise. Talbrik picking up the Goddess's Bell. Seri making it past Borgin, losing Joseph. And Poorscythe about to be back at the town.
So we'll see something interesting here. think the majority of routes. We're just going to be running for the rest of the game, so it's just going to depend on how quick we get those fleas. There are a few things that we're going to be on the lookout for, them being paralysis and the petrification statuses. We're hoping not to get enemies that have those.
Yeah, that would not be a good thing.
Here on the Poorscythe screen, we're picking up some teleport and warp tomes. We are going to be using one of those teleport spells to be able to just get out of dungeons faster. But the rest of those, as we saw with the fire tome, are going to be essentially just the ability to one-shot certain encounters that we choose.
And that is because teleport and warp both fall under a different element. Now, if you've played the Final Fantasy games, then you know the main elements fairly well. Poison, earth, lightning, fire, ice, death, time, so on and so forth. Well, the teleport and warp spells fall under an element called matter. And for the most part, there's nothing in the game that really resists the matter element. So these tomes in and of themselves are going to be extremely potent throughout the run.
We got Pete Swanson in chat asking where's the blood sword. Just wait, Pete. We'll get a blood sword shipped right over to you.
Ooh, did Poorscythe get the permanent poison? Yep, he did. So there are two different types of status ailments in battle for the poisons in and of themselves. There is one that is venom, and venom in and of itself does not persist after battle, whereas the actual full-on poison status ailment persists post-battle. So the Goddess's Bell is used to open up Cache 1 Keep, where Gordon is, as he's just able to enter Cache 1 Keep no problem, whereas Firion, Maria, and Guy absolutely needed the Goddess's Bell in order to, come in here and be able to get everything done. And Gordon wants to join the party in order to stop the Dreadnought and hopefully save the world as a whole and attempt to stop the Emperor in any way, shape, or form that is possible. So now it is just going to be progressing through Cache 1 Keep, running from encounters until the boss comes up here, which is going to be a pretty good fight, in my opinion. I actually like the boss here.
It's an interesting one, and it's also a quick delineation of kind of enemy types that's just not distinctly told. So one of the things you'll see, I believe all of our runners using it's called Continue Auto Battle, which essentially as you go into a fight, it's going to keep that auto battle on, and what auto battle does is it takes your last action, essentially applies it. So that's going to make us much quicker on the fleas, because if we just have fleas queued up for everybody. What happens is if when you go into a boss fight, it actually auto turns off auto battle for you. But Red Souls is going to be our first battle where that's not turned off. So kind of just giving a distinction of it's kind of a boss fight, but it's also the game is considering it a regular enemy.
Which I always thought that to be interesting with how this game looked at the Red Soul encounter here. Just not something I personally really thought about.
Well, it's kind of interesting because we do get Adamantos later on toward the end of the game, but that boss fight does turn it off. Same for Red Souls, but this Red Soul battle, it doesn't turn it off. So there's just some uniqueness in how they coded, I guess, those enemies, where they just use the regular Red Soul template, perhaps, for this Red Soul encounter.
That makes sense. I mean, speaking of the admin toys, there he is.
Oh, yep.
He just wanted to say hi.
His ears were burning.
Good thing fire's not very effective on him.
We got Poorscythe here, just gearing up for the Red Soul encounter.
Making a quick save prior to the Red Soul fight, just in case anything goes awry, which it shouldn't. And Red Souls in and of themselves, they cast some pretty strong magic. But this fight should go very quickly. Case in point right there. And with that, that is the Eagle's Torch obtained for Poorscythe. And now that the Eagle's Torch is obtained, it can be transferred. The Sunfire can be transferred over to the Torch, which means the ability to destroy the Dreadnought is now in their hands.
Heck, why stop with the Dreadnought? Let's take over the world.
I mean, you're not wrong.
We got Cereth going into the Red Soul fight.
Now, Cereth's equipment was slightly different than Poorscythe's and I believe even Talbrik's, as Cereth was using 2 shields, and that was to help prevent, I believe, poison and paralysis. And there goes the Red Soul for Cereth. And now Cereth has the Eagle's Torch in hand, as Talbrik is still working through Cache 1 Keep. Now, you may have noticed that the runners did learn Teleport just to be able to get out of the dungeon even faster and come back up to the Sunfire in and of itself. Just a little bit of a time save to get back to the front of the dungeon and do this. One thing I don't think we mentioned on some of the differences with this game is that you're not limited to just cardinal direction movement, but you also have diagonal movement in this. And you definitely have seen that a lot so far throughout the run. That diagonal movement in and of itself is massive.
Yeah, it's huge. It can take away potentially half of your steps, meaning that compared to someone who's only going straight lines, those that are familiar with geometry and hypotenuses can essentially avoid just a whole bunch of encounters. And this is also good to mention, this is our first sighting of a Chocobo. And kind of fit as Team Chocobo currently in the lead.
Yeah. Team Chocobo getting the first Chocobo. I don't know, this seems kind of fitting.
We got Talbrik on the Red Soul fight.
Pretty good Red Soul fight for Talbrik there.
Yeah, some nice hits. So even if we don't get the curse off, We do have the ability to crit, which is able to essentially avoid a good chunk of the defense and get those hard-hitting attacks in.
Oh, Poorscythe unfortunately getting ambushed by Werepanthers. Gonna have to suffer through a little bit of poison for a moment. But fortunately, with antidotes on hand, doesn't matter too terribly much. Alright, Thief's Gloves. Big find here as the Thief's Gloves in and of themselves increase the agility of whomever they're equipped on.
So I believe the thing we might have not caught here on commentary side was the Sleep Blade. Sari just picked up. Poorscythe picked up it just a few moments before that. That's another one of our big items here. Just in case you didn't know, Sleep Blade has the ability to apply the sleep status effect, which is going to be tied with the Curse Blade to do a lot more damage, are the two main components of this speedrun.
Absolutely, and you might be thinking, but wait, you have two different blades that do two different status ailments. Are status ailments able to stack in this game? And the answer to that is yes, they actually do stack in this game. So you can have an enemy cursed or a party member cursed and slept and even poisoned. And those status ailments will stack upon each other.
I think that also presents an interesting case where the game is only able to apply a certain few status effects. I believe it's after 3 if it happens on our characters and they happen to go to 0 or below 0 damage. They enter this weird quasi state where they're still alive until those 3 status effects wear off, because the dead or death status effect isn't able to stack on top of that. We might be able to get a chance to see that in this run.
You know, I think the only case that I've seen that happening with is against some of the Marlboros and the Great Marlboros.
Yeah, it's usually toward the end of the game once we get to Palmesia or Pandemonium.
But for now, it is just continuing through the Dreadnought. Talbrik picked up the Sleep Blade as well as the Thief's Gloves. Now, you may have noticed that they went to talk to Sid and Hilda, who were captured. They were on the airship when it got grabbed out of the air. And that was basically to warn them that, hey, we're here to destroy the Dreadnought. We have Sunfire. You might want to try to get out of here when the time comes.
Yeah, so this is where we might see a few autosaves toward the end of this last big floor. We'll see Poorscythe on. Very, very long room. You'll get dozens of encounters. And there's a quick save. But we have the stun rats, which are able to essentially just stun lock your team, as well as possibly some bombs that can just set themselves off. So this is probably one of the more scarier floors in the game, especially being so long. Your auto saves and quick saves are very important here.
And then the magicians in and of themselves can do a massive amount of damage if you're not careful. But the biggest concern being the stunners.
So we got a question: how long is the FF2 run? It's usually anywhere between, just on average, like 2 hours and 15 minutes to 220. is a good rough estimate. And then the longer estimate's at 230.
Yeah, 230 is the estimate for absolute safety. Because the last few dungeons, there's a lot that can go awry in them. All right. Go for it, Captain.
Well, we just shoved the Sunfire into the Dreadnought, and out pops this mysterious figure. Who could that be? Who knows, really? But we get this nice auto sequence of us just leaving. Probably one of my most favorite cutscenes in a game, where the game just leaves for us. Is right here in the Dreadnought.
Yeah, this cutscene is also one of my favorites because it's like, okay, I can set down the controller for a little while and just do whatever. So, with that set and done and the Sunfire thrown into the engine, that does destroy the Dreadnought. Everybody makes it out of the Dreadnought just fine, with Hilda, Sid, Furion, Maria, Guy, and of course Gordon. And everybody gets dropped off back here at Altair. And now it's on to the next objective, which unfortunately is talking to the king. His condition in and of itself has gotten worse. So he asks Gordon to lead the army and asks Minwoo to break the seal on the ultimate magic known as Ultima.
Oh boy, I can't wait to use that.
Wait, you mean we actually get to use Ultima? So, the task that the king asks for Furion, Maria, and Guy to do is head to the land of Daist. And Daist was the home of the Dragoons and the Wyverns, but there might be a minor problem with that. And I do mean minor. But there is a secondary problem that needs to be faced, and that's the problem of getting to the island of Daist. So, we're going to go back to, what is it, Paloom here, over by Altair? I can never exactly remember which one's the closer one and which one's the farther one. Yeah, Paloom. And there's this nice lady here. And she is offering a ride on her ship. So, it's a Final Fantasy game. The party's going on a ship. Nothing bad can ever come of this, right? Right?
Exactly. Just a free ship ride. A very nice lady to take us there.
But wait, this isn't right. Layla, what are you doing? So yeah, it's just a fight against some pirates. This isn't that bad of a fight.
Some nice variety here, though. We'll see Poorscythe casting Blizzard. Normally, I believe it's routed in to get Fire Tomes, so that's interesting. It does this about the same amount of damage, ending the fight after everybody casts their magic.
Talbrik's definitely been catching up to both Sari and Poorscythe here, and has been doing an absolute fantastic job.
Oh, Talbrik saying that recently switched route to Blizzard because it's faster animation.
Yes.
Interesting. And so once again, we get a fourth party member, Layla.
And Layla, the only word I can use to describe Layla is fast.
Yeah, very fast. We give her the Thieves' Gloves early on to make her even faster. Gives us a better chance to flee away at the beginning of these encounters.
Yeah, she is incredibly fast.
Also, a really good magic user for free, where Minwu was our white mage. You can kind of think of Layla as our black mage.
Absolutely, for sure. Layla starts with, what is it, Thunder 4? Almost Thunder 5?
It's nothing small, so it's definitely very welcomed, whatever it is.
Whereas, you know, we had Minwu who started with almost every spell he had ready to level up on one cast. Now, Dazed Cavern, in and of itself, we actually get to encounter more souls. We've got the yellow souls, there is the potential of an encounter of green souls, and the green souls are nice as they heal, but, you know, that still costs time. The yellow souls in and of themselves, though, are kind of a scarier encounter, as they're the more difficult encounter to flee from.
Luckily, we picked up some extra life tomes, so as well as the one we originally got. So we should have quite a bit of leeway, as well as we have here Furion using teleport. Whoa! Able to easily just get out of that dungeon.
Wait, using teleport? What? Never.
You may have caught it early on when we used it with Minwu, but when a character uses teleport, that character does take a lot of damage. So after teleport usage, we do have to heal that character up.
So, the pendant inside of Dazed Cavern had to be obtained in order to be able to talk to the Wyvern here. And in talking to the Wyvern, it tells us that it's the last of its kind and has one remaining egg that needs to be dropped into the life spring at the bottom of the cavern. So the party receives the egg, and now Poorscythe has picked up two very important items: the Saint Spirit and the Sage's Wisdom. They are both consumable items that raise their respective stats immediately to 99, which in turn makes the white magic for spirit and the black magic for wisdom, which raises intellect, if I do recall correctly. Their accuracy shoots way up because of that, and how the formula works for the accuracy of spells, as that is a bit more of a complex formula. So now the goal in and of itself is just to get down to the bottom of the Dazed Cavern in order to submerge the egg in the life spring. Hopefully there's not going to be anything there waiting for us. But we'll find out when we get there, right?
Yep, we have this chia pet egg, and it needs water.
And I will say, all three of the runners here are still really, really close to each other, which is definitely what we all like to see here at the start of these relay races, is everybody being really, really close, and it makes it even better if we continue to see that throughout these. Unfortunately, Poorscythe, though, in a bit of danger, but does make it away from the Yellow Souls no problem. That is always a scary encounter, and I am absolutely with Shadow in chat with hashtag Team Close Race.
Yeah, there are some longer rooms throughout the game, which are nice, and we'll usually see some quick saves. So we do have the auto-save feature of the Pixel Remasters, which makes it a easy recovery, but quick save throughout these long floors allows a closer checkpoint. And we're seeing something a little bit unique to how Poorscythe does his route. He go ahead and pick up a few chests, and he's also going to be using that extra warp spell to be able to just go back a few floors.
Now, the difference between teleport and warp, as you may have noticed, is teleport just takes you directly out of the dungeon, whereas warp just takes you back one floor. So where Poorscythe may have spent a little bit of time grabbing the extra Saint Spirit and Sage's Wisdom, those in and of themselves are going to be used here in a little bit. Also, fun little lore thing here, the child that all three of our runners ran into is Cain. And the way that I have come to see it over the years with this game is that that's Cain Highwind of FF4.
Whoa.
So, welcome to the Chimera fight. Poorscythe using the Sage's Wisdom and Warp. Unfortunately, did not get all four of the Chimerae to be warped away, but fortunately made a quick save, whereas Seri, just first try, easy, set and done.
Yeah, so that's one of the interesting things that PS5 brings to the table with Pixel Remasters compared to PC as well, is mid-battle you can just soft reset, where PC you have to end the battle and be essentially on the map to be able to reset. But it does make it really quick where you could take the fight further and hope you can kill these chimeras with just your Sleep Blade and Ancient Sword. But resetting and getting these magic just essentially banishes is very fast and usually a really good choice.
As I like to put it, when you use warp or teleport on enemies, you're just putting them in the fourth dimension. So that is the remaining wyvern egg submerged into the life spring, and now we're going to make a stop here at this tropical island to pick up an item that's going to be needed here before too terribly long. In order to enter, if I remember correctly, it's the Mysidian Cave, you have to pick up two masks. You have to pick up a black mask and a white mask. One of them is going to be here in the tropical island. The other is going to be picked up in a few moments after the raid on Castle Finn, and Finn in and of itself is retaken from the Empire in and of itself.
Yeah, we should be able to pick up the, I believe it's a black mask here.
Yeah, because the white mask is in Castle Finn.
But what we will see here a lot is the poison status effect. So almost everything has the ability to poison us in this cave. So those antidotes we just highly stocked up on going to be very useful. There are a few stun rats we might run into, but the majority of encounters, it's just going to be poison all day.
Yep, poison, dual heads, dual deads, more poison, occasional stunners, and more poison.
So we got
So if
Talbrik specking
Go
out
ahead.
for his Chimera fight.
Let's go, Talbrik. I'm hoping the Chimeras are nice here. But yeah, the red moose and yellow jellies, they have extremely high defense, so physical attacks really wouldn't do anything to them, and at this point in the game, really, weapon levels aren't too terribly necessary. Using teleport instead of warp, I like it. Gets the job done, too.
Yep, and we'll put our last chia egg in the pool to grow up.
The chia eggs, they grow up so fast.
Try it for your eyes. Well, almost.
Comment in chat about them being hard-boiled. No! We don't want the last wyvern hard-boiled. That wyvern is going to play a very important role.
So we'll see Sari going up against another battle that just doesn't take us out of the auto battle sign, but is another one of those let's just banish it kind of battles. Oh, and all four right off the bat gone.
So good.
So here's our black mass.
And Poorscythe, not too terribly far behind on Sari here. About to do the exact same. Hopefully, I was about to say hopefully does not get ambushed, but does get ambushed. This
Commentator's curse.
This could be bad. Gets the Saint Spirit. Teleport 8. 4 for 4. Okay.
Nice. Looks like he almost reset, but probably glad that he just pushed forward with that. Maybe?
No, he decided to reset.
Interesting thing that Sari did here is there is a pad to just exit the dungeon behind the black mass, but Sari decided to teleport out, saving a few seconds. Very interesting.
I mean, it's a small time saver, but it is a time saver nonetheless. And yeah, he had to reset due to no life, and then Furion also has teleport. So, back at the town of Altair, Princess Hilda is wanting to have Furion alone for a little while. And this is where quick save and potentially quick load are really going to come into play. Because there is a fight that, for all intents and purposes, I am going to call a very massive jerk. So, Hilda is not Hilda here. This is the Lamia Queen fight. This is a game of roulette, more or less.
Yeah, it used to be a very simple fight pre-patch where you could just hit the Sleep Blade right off the bat. But now it's a game of I see some routes throw Sleep Grass, some routes try to banish with a teleport spell. And others just try to just go for the swing. Hopefully this nerfed Sleep Blade is able to get it done.
And there's the Confused 9 coming out, which is unfortunate. Now Poorscythe also at the Lamia Queen. So we'll see just what happens.
Talbrik warps out 3 big horns. Not totally bad here. We can easily take it down with that Thunder 4 spell to answer that question for us, along with Ancient Blade and Sleep Sword. Sleep Blade and Ancient Sword?
Yeah, getting crits nonetheless, and unfortunately Sari is not in a good spot, and that's going to be a wipe for Sari. So this part of the run in and of itself is a very, very big equalizer. Since it can take 1 attempt, it can take 2 attempts, it can take 15 attempts. It could take a number of attempts. Poorscythe, though, getting it very quickly, gets 15,000 gil. And that is it for the Lamia Queen.
Yeah, so there's a few different drops you can get there. You can get another, I think it's Sage's Wisdom?
Yes, if I remember correctly, the Lamia Queen does drop the Sage's Wisdom.
So Sage's Wisdom, there's another drop I can't quite remember, or the 15k gil. And 15k gil is definitely the best one we hope to get here in speedrun. There's an easy backup for it later on, it just delays a menu. We can pick up an elixir, and this is one of the rare instances where elixir is worth 25,000 gil instead of only selling for 1.
Yes. Yeah, she can drop, of course, the 15,000 gil, a Diamond Cuirass, Protect Ring, Gold Hairpin, Sage's Wisdom, or a Ribbon.
The interesting run where the ribbon is not the item we want to see. A lot of other Final Fantasies were hoping to get ribbons. This is not one of them.
Yeah, the ribbon in and of itself in FF2 is not as useful as it is in other Final Fantasies.
And we got Talbrik close on heels going into the Omnia fight at this moment.
So here goes Talbrik's attempt against the Lamia Queen, as Poorscythe and Sari are now heading to the Colosseum, as Princess Hilda is being offered as a reward in the Colosseum for defeating whatever champion lies there. But before getting to the Colosseum, they've got to make it through this desert, which has antlions that stun, and sandrays, if I remember correctly, can do a lot of damage. And then, of course, the Chimerae that we saw as bosses.
Talbrik having a really nice Lamia Queen fight, able to get sleep off from the get-go, and just keeping her asleep the rest of the time.
That's a lot of time saved for Talbrik. Team Mog definitely getting a very, very welcome time save on that one. All right, time for the Behemoth fight on Poorscythe's end, which is really just hope that Sleep and Ancient Blade works, and then just pummel.
We also, I'm not sure who picked it up, but we also have the case of Wing Sword. So you might see some runners switch out the Ancient Blade once it procs the Wing Sword to do extra damage. That is also an option. In the Pixel Remasters, mid-fight, when you can pick to attack, you can actually go into items, go into what someone has in their hand, and switch out those items mid-battle, which makes it a little unique compared to other Final Fantasies.
Oh, Sari finally got the sleep proc on the Behemoth. And just like that, the Behemoth has gone down. So here comes some guy. I don't know who this is. I think his name's Paul.
Yeah, so Paul, who we liberated from the Mithril Mines early on in the game, is going to return the favor here and get us out of this cell.
Paul is amazing. And chest with a free elixir, always nice to see.
Yep, so that was the backup elixir you have the option of getting for an additional 25k cell later on.
But yeah, there's a very good reason coming up that we all love Paul, and that reason is also going to be the biggest carry at the end of the game.
Meanwhile, as we have the other two leaving, we have Talbrik entering here his behemoth fight.
That first try Lamia Queen definitely brought Talbrik back with Poorscythe and Cereth here. That was an absolutely amazing fight.
So leaving the Coliseum here, it's not too many encounters. I believe you can take about 3 encounters here. Not too many, but can be a little scary, so we'll see some quick saves, even though it is a shorter floor.
Yeah, it is absolutely possible to just get obliterated by the enemies here in the Coliseum. And as somebody who has seen it happen multiple times to Poorscythe specifically, I cannot blame him playing it safe and actually using the quick save feature.
So we'll see some quick saves also across the desert. That's also another scary area. So we have chimeras that can stunlock us, and we have those manta rays that can stunlock us as well. I think also antlions that can stunlock us. So
Antlions can stunlock, yeah, and that's just disastrous. So now it is time for the raid on Finn and to retake it. So we're going to see a few enemies here, none of which really going to be super threatening, but Layla's going to come back and join the party again after Hilda is saved. And now it's time to continue up to the top of the castle and take out the commander here.
Yeah, we're at a nice point in the run where after Lamia Queen, usually you get some type of item shop there where we pick up some Phoenix Downs and potions and whatnot. So usually after Lamia Queen, we get all the items for the rest of the run, or at least the majority of them, which puts us in a nice spot to just take care of anything that happens on these random encounters.
And this is where we're going to start seeing much higher tier enemies come into play. We're going to start seeing tier 3, potential tier 4 enemies, and the bosses will be anywhere from tier 5 to tier 7. So Gatos here is sitting on the throne, being the commander in charge of everybody in Finn. Kind of a pushover with the Ancient Sword and Sleep Blade. Just makes for a very easy fight. And like that, the enemy commander goes down, and the town of Finn has been liberated of the Empire.
We see Talbrik getting that stun lock that we talked about. Just showing off how if you can get those lucky fleas off, it's just a much faster game where you don't have to deal with anything the enemy can throw at you.
You know, we had mentioned something about Commentator's Curse earlier, and we had one happen just much later.
Meanwhile, we got Poorscythe diving through the sewers of Fynn, while Ceri's taking on the enemy commander, and Talbrik making his way over to Fynn.
So there was a keyword picked up in order to get back into the sewers of Fynn, and that keyword is Ekmet Telos. That is what allows the passageway to be revealed in order to get back here and obtain the white mask.
Yeah, I believe this is also where we're going to see those green souls that are able to cure you. If you need a free heal, you can just sit out those battles, but usually we have auto battle on and we're already queuing up those fleas.
Yep. And there have been quite a few green souls that have popped up. I believe I've seen 2 encounters of them so far.
Yeah, you can just go the whole sewers without seeing any, but it makes it easy because you get a fight where you're just not punched, and usually you get the quick flee off. We got Talbrik going into the commander fight.
And Poorscythe about to be at the end of this dungeon, picking up the white mask. And Ceri starting the back of Castle Fynn. Alright, hopefully Talbrik got sleep to land. Does not seem to be the case. This has definitely been a bit of a terrifying fight for Talbrik. Poorscythe, though, right now in a dangerous area. This is Mysidia, and all of the encounters here are very, very, very strong.
Commander down for Talbrik. Yeah, so one of the things we'll see is we just saw on Poorscythe's screen of those cockatrices. We can see packs of 6 here, and we have 4 characters. So if they start hitting away, they usually get an instant petrify. But you could still get lucky where they could attack the petrified character, and you could still get away even if you do get ambushed. But one of the scarier pieces of the Mysidia area.
Alright, there is Talbrik getting Ekmet Telos as Ceri picks up the white mask. And the nice thing about Mysidia is that it has a lot of good stuff available. It's got Thief's Gloves, it's got all the tomes you could ever want. It has some pretty good weapons. And it is actually possible to access this area very early on in the game, but it's also very scary to do so.
And on Poorscythe's screen, we'll be able to see kind of what you'd hope to see on enemies. Unfortunately, we don't get the same luxury of that curse icon just hovering above those characters. That's the icon that allows people to take more damage.
So the white mask got placed on a statue underneath Mysidia, and now it's time to head into the Mysidian cave, where there's going to be a doppelganger at the end of the first floor. But that doppelganger is going to be frozen in place because of the white mask being on the statue, which gives a perfect opportunity to put the black mask on it and in turn cause the doppelganger to disappear, allowing progression to be made through the Mysidian cave.
Yeah, what does happen if we don't have that white mask on the first statue?
So if the white mask is not on the first statue, you pretty much cannot put the black mask on the doppelganger, and you have to then exit the Mysidian cave and put the white mask on the statue. If you don't have the white mask or the black mask in your inventory and you try to put the black mask on the doppelganger, it doesn't work, and in turn you then have to go get both masks and then come back. It's massive time losses. Looks like Talbrik's about to head to Mysidia as Sari is reorganizing the inventory just a bit.
So another thing you might have noticed, which we get a lot of here in the Mysidian Cave, is essentially false walls that we're able to walk through to skip areas. Very nice if you know where they are, but you can usually just hug a wall just to kind of fish around for an area to get through. I think the only place where it requires you to go through a false wall is right at the end of the game. Otherwise, you can just take the long way around for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and there were some false walls earlier on, though they weren't as large when it comes to getting through areas as these ones have been.
Talbrik doing a little bit of a buy menu here in Mysidia. This is usually your backup menu area. If you don't get that 15k, you get the elixir, you sell it here. Do the item menu here.
Little bit of a time-consuming encounter here for Poorscythe, but nothing too bad. Still able to make it out as Sari gets rid of the doppelganger with that black mask. Talbrik just putting the white mask on the statue underneath Mysidia and is ready to proceed into the cave. These imps are fairly scary if they get a turn, as they have the potential to confuse the entire party. So Poorscythe making it to the last room of the Mysidian cave, opens up this back center chest and pulls a crystal rod out of it. The crystal rod is an important item for entering the Mysidian tower, which is what houses the Ultima Tome.
And one's got a nice little teleport out. I would hate to have to walk out of this one. It's probably one of the longest areas where you teleport out. And it's just really nice to have that teleport spell.
Yeah, I would not be able to imagine walking out of that cave. At least, not anymore. I did walk out of it my first time playing casually. After that, I learned teleport is my best friend. So, with the crystal rod in hand, attempting to go to the Mysidian Tower causes this whirlpool to form, and that's not entirely a good thing, because there's not much that can be done about it right now. Ship's not going to be able to make it out of the whirlpool and over to the coast in order to be able to access the Mysidian Tower. And instead, it throws us inside of the Leviathan. So there is a prime example of just how deadly a cockatrice encounter can be, as Talbrik unfortunately got petrified on every character in that encounter.
Meanwhile, we're showing off our shiny new crystal rod to Ricard here, and you know what? That sways him. He likes the shiny glittery rod, and he's going to join our party.
All right, so with Ricard in party, next up is a fight against, well, a roundworm. Because the roundworm is blocking access to the boat, and you kind of need a boat if you're out at sea.
So I always love the Ricard party ad. Essentially, you get this overpowered character. If you're playing casually, usually he might be a little lower than your party. But in a speed run, he is definitely our new hotness. Just dishing out damage with his fire lance.
I mean, he's a dragoon, and he does damage well. You might be able to answer the question in chat better than I can, Captain. Has PC gotten the PS5 upgrades yet? Asked by Lyrical Pumpkin.
Not yet. So PC's still using what they got originally. There's no soft reset ability here. And I believe there's still no boosters either.
So there is the use of the crystal rod dispelling the barrier around the Mysidian Tower, allowing access to it. And this is the start of the very long dungeons. This dungeon is huge. One thing to keep in mind with the Mysidian Tower in and of itself is it's also going to be split up into sections. You're going to have a fire section, an ice section, and a lightning section. So, first up, of course, the fire section. Second is going to be the ice section. Last but not least, the lightning section. And then it'll be finishing out climbing the tower. And there are going to be these bosses that come up. They're all Gygases, each of corresponding elements. So, of course, first off, it's going to be the Fire Gygas, and then the Ice Gygas, and last but not least, the Thunder Gygas.
Which is very interesting, because we're still using Fire Lance against the Fire Gigas. Then we pick up a nice Ice Brand, which we use against the Ice Gigas. This is a shame that we don't pick up some Thunder Weapon to use against the Thunder Gigas.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that, because there really isn't a Thunder Weapon available for him. Now, there is a sword that can be obtained, but whether or not it will be is a different story. Alright, Sari has made it into the Mysidian Tower. Talbrik, not sitting too terribly far behind, soon to recruit Ricard, as Poorscythe has made it up to the Ice Gigas. Or Ice Gigas. Now, if you do happen to know some of the runs of the other versions, there usually is a lot of teleport used, but with everything that's in this version allowing it to be sped up as much as it really is, teleport in and of itself isn't quite as useful.
Yeah, I think this is one of the main ones that uses teleport. I don't think any of the other, at least the Pixar Master, uses the teleport spell as much as Final Fantasy II.
No, it does not. So these Devil's Blooms are a little terrifying as they both poison and confuse in one attack, basically at the same time. They're a very, very scary encounter.
So you have the ability to also pick up the Hermes shoes here. I think Poorscythe passed it by. I'm not going to pick it up for his route. Essentially, that's another one of those break items we can use later on to cast haste. Normally it's used on Emperor 1 just to give Ricard the ability to dish out massive amounts of damage.
Yeah, as haste in and of itself, where you would think it would be a doubler on your number of hits, since this Final Fantasy is prior to the ATB system, haste doesn't entirely double your hits, but it does increase the amount of hits you deal based upon the level of haste in and of itself, as well as your modifier from your int. It's another formula-based spell that gets a little intricate when you go into the higher levels. So Poorscythe here, almost to the top of the tower. I believe it is on the second to last floor.
We actually get a rare instance where each are on a different floor. We got a fire floor, a ice floor, and essentially it turns into a thunder floor. It doesn't change after we fight the Hillgigas. Or sorry, the Hillgigas, the Thunder Gigas.
I was about to say the Hillgigas. we went backwards on enemies?
There's just too many Hillgigases across all the Final Fantasies. It makes me
You're not wrong. You are not wrong in the slightest. One thing that I know I definitely forgot to mention that is pretty big in this tower is that the water tiles, the ice spike tiles, and the lava tiles, they do not advance the step counter towards getting an encounter. Also, Minwu fired the laser, but unfortunately, it's the last laser he's gonna fire.
I like to think he has like a flower on his chest, and he's like a clown, just squirting out seltzer water at the door.
I mean, the one I always like to say with it is he just fired the Kamehameha wave. So yeah, unfortunately that is the end of Minwu. But Fire Gigas down for Talbrik, And Sari, looking at the Thunder Gigas right now.
We got Poorscythe picking up the extra pieces, the agility increase and the strength increase in this room, along with the Ultimatome.
Now, Captain, do you know how the Ultima spell works?
I've heard legends of it. Apparently, the more you cast it, the stronger it gets.
So that is one part of it, yes. The other part of the Ultima spell, and this is an interesting part of its formula, is it takes your overall weapon levels and your overall magic levels, excluding Ultima itself, adds them together into one number, and then multiplies that by Ultima's level, and that's the amount of damage it deals.
Whoa.
The only reason I learned that is because I got very curious one day as to how that formula worked.
Sounds like the ultimate spell.
If only it didn't take so long to go through.
Alright, we got Sari on the seltzer water section, with Poorscythe having looked into the mirrors, seen what he saw, and he saw a wyvern.
And now Dragoon and Wyvern are reunited. We have the most powerful tag team in the world. So with the Wyvern, that now makes the Cyclone accessible, but you don't want to go into the Cyclone just yet. It is time to come back to Finn and talk to Paul, and he is going to be like, well, if you're going to the Cyclone, go through my treasures. And there is the Blood Sword. The Blood Sword is... I would say a lot of people's favorite weapon.
And if this speedrun was a lock, I would say it's definitely the key here. It's the centerpiece in the strategy for the end of the run.
You know, I like how you put that, Captain.
Thank you.
Because it really is the key to the end of this run. Poorscythe, unfortunately, getting a bad encounter there, not able to get a run off, and in turn has to reset.
Yeah, it's one of the nice things, though, about the PlayStation version, like we were saying, is that you do get this soft reset inside of a battle, where on PC we'd have to wait until we died or we got out to do that reset.
So, the Blood Sword. Very, very fun weapon, very, very strong weapon at that. The Blood Sword and the way that it works is that each hit on an enemy causes it to lose 1/16 of its maximum HP. So 16 hits is an instant kill on the enemy. Sari revealing the Wyvern in the mirror, reuniting Dragoon and Wyvern, as Talbrik, unfortunately, not in a good encounter here against the Marlboro Terra.
I'd also like to point out Poorscythe encountered the double Royal Guard. So in the original versions, there were a lot of unrunnable encounters. And Poorscythe getting just 2 back-to-back, but the ones you can't run from here and while you're going to this tower are the double Royal Guards. You can flee from 2 Royal Guards and a Golem. You can flee from any other number of Royal Guards, but for some reason, just 2 Royal Guards, you cannot flee from. It's an unrunnable encounter that they ported over from the original version.
I have a theory on that, and it's because of the gauntlet prior to the Emperor.
Interesting.
I think that's the only encounter that did not lose that flag as a random encounter.
We also see we can't run from dragons or king behemoths later on in the game. And I think those are the only 3 encounters we can't run from.
Yeah, it's weird. All right, Seri flying into the Cyclone, Talbrik getting the Ultimatome, and there it is, 2 Royal Guards. Yeah.
Poorscythe starting out the Emperor Gauntlet, which is a series of 3 fights. We need 2, and then the final one being the Emperor. But we can't quick save anywhere in between these fights, so we need to take all 3 in turn. So it's going to be just the balancing of keeping people alive and stocked up before we go into each fight, and trying to get that to work. We do have the Sleep Blade, which will allow us to buy a little time on one character, as well as we have Ricard with the Ice Blade and Blood Sword to almost one-shot each one, especially with Guy just finishing up any extra shot.
And this also allows the power of the Blood Sword to be seen. Granted, the Ice Brand in and of itself is just doing so much damage. This is where the Blood Sword is really going to shine, though, is against the Emperor.
Yeah, you can do it a few number of ways. You can throw the Ice Brand in that favorite slot to get more damage off, or the Blood Sword to get more damage off the Blood Sword for a larger heal. But normally you don't need that Blood Sword in that slot, because he can usually hit enough to get a full amount of HP. And Poorscythe getting off I think that was a warp to get rid of everybody except for the Wood Golem.
Yeah, that was a warp. That was a beautiful warp at that. Having only the Wood Golem standing afterwards is really nice to see.
Just a beautiful fight. That's another piece where the post-patch, now with Sleep proccing less, Ancient Sword proccing Curse less. There's a few different things you can do. You can do a Sleep's Grass, throw some Hermes Shoes, or this Warp Strat. And this Warp Strat, definitely, if you can pull it off, it's really nice.
So, with that said and done, I mean, the Emperor's gone. Game's done, right?
Well, not for Seri going into this Emperor 1 fight as well. It's probably one of the most exciting fight sequences in the game. We'll see what is used here. I believe that was a sleep, or was that a cast of? We get 1 teleport off.
One's better than 0.
Yeah, so your big things here are going to be that Wood Golem in the front. Can hit hard. We can get some poison damage from these Royal Guards. And then the Emperor can do essentially whatever he wants to do. Usually want him just curing himself, just to stay out of the fight as long as possible. But usually once you get that Wood Golem down, especially with these teleporting out those Royal Guards, the Emperor by himself usually quite the pushover.
Yeah, Emperor by himself, even though he does have some bad spells, bad in very, very large air quotes, he's very, very much pushover. So unfortunately, Sid has taken a fatal blow from the cyclone and is willing to pass on the airship, which means there's access to where the Dark Knight is stationed at. And it turns out that the Dark Knight is none other than Maria's brother, who we saw at the start of the game and haven't seen since, Leon.
Whoa. Spoilers.
I mean, it's said.
My favorite is always the celebration sequence that they brought into a few Final Fantasies after you defeat the boss. But not really, as we'll see on Poorscythe's screen, as he's going over to grab an airship and then head over back to the castle, to Palamecia, to essentially confront Leon.
Looks like Talbrik's having a fairly good run through the cyclone.
Yep, headed into Emperor 1 at the moment, looks like.
I don't think Talbrik had any unrunnables come up.
Yeah, I didn't see any either.
That's really, really good. So Poorscythe is back in the castle, has to drop down to the bottom and climb back up to the top, unfortunately, as there is a pitfall. And now it's just climbing back up, getting to where Leon is and talking to him. Question in chat asking if there are any breaks or if the relay is a 3-day long block, and it is a 3-day long block, no breaks, all gas.
Yeah, especially for Final Fantasy II. Final Fantasy II is one of the ones where there are not a lot of breaks. I think really the only one you get is that dance sequence, and it's not even that long. There are a few other categories that have some in-game breaks that you can take as they're scrolling through text. But the relay overall is just back-to-back Final Fantasy.
Who needs sleep during relay season? I mean, you're not wrong. And yeah, FF2 doesn't have very many breaks in it whatsoever. It's got, I would say, 2 whole breaks, really. So Poorscythe is starting to near the top of the tower as Ciri enters Palamecia and unfortunately has to go through the pitfall. Looks like Talbrik's having a bit of a struggle here against the Royal Guards. Kind of an unfortunate time. And Gatos, whom you saw at the top of Castle Finn, is now a normal enemy. So this is another one of those spots where a boss that you saw in the past becomes a normal enemy, and we're going to continue seeing that happen through the remainder of the game.
Yeah, it's a nice piece to remind you that you're powerful enough to take these on now. Now, every other step, you know. Here's a Gatos. Here's 2 Gatoses. Heck, we'll give you 4 Gatoses. Or would it be like
Just-
Gatai? What's the plural of that?
I would go with Gatai. Also, the Black Knights that you saw at the beginning of the game. Have some more of those. Got to. I like it.
Alright, Talbrik going through the Emperor 1 fight.
Ooh, looking a little worse for wear on that, and it has to restart the gauntlet.
We get an interesting situation where we're going to see Emperor 1 and then the reborn Emperor on Poorscythe's screen.
Returning from the 4th dimension. So Ricard tells them to take the Wyvern and get out. And the Emperor shows his true power and, of course, decides to bring Castle Pandemonium from the underworld to the surface. But now, we mourn the loss of Ricard for a brief moment and bring Leon onto the party.
Yep, we didn't name him for no reason. We get him as our last party member. And another just big, you know, heavy damage dealer. This time with almost 1100 HP. Just that it's I like to think of it as a D&D like, oh yeah, your player died. Roll a new character, and it's just like, well, it's the same character. It's just now it's their brother.
Yep.
In this case, Leon's a little bit more tankier than Ricard.
Looks like Talbrik's having a better go of the Emperor Gauntlet. But Poorscythe is off to the final gauntlet, I would say, of the game.
Yeah, Talbrik having used Hermes shoes, Ricard is hitting like a tank. Once that wood golem goes down, usually it's a good fair bet to say that the encounter is over. And down for Emperor 1 for Talbrik's screen.
So, welcome to the Jade Passage, the second to last dungeon in the game. With the Emperor being reborn, he opens up the passage to Jade as well as Pandemonium in and of itself. And now it is just venturing through the Jade Passage, entering Pandemonium, and then climbing the 10 floors of that. So in total, it's 16 floors, right? I always lose count here.
Your math sounds solid. I'm going to trust you on that one.
Okay.
It is a very quick, safe, heavy section, because there are a lot of things that can just quickly end the run for you. We got these worms. If you get a lot of Abyss worms, they can throw some things at you pretty quickly. We get some Maul Barrows that can rock your world. So a lot of longer floors, and we're going to see a lot of quick saves.
Yeah, the Chimera Sphinxes have extremely strong blaze attacks, and the Abyss Worms here have a very, very powerful party-wide attack. And Talbrik, unfortunately, just did not have a good time on the Emperor Gauntlet. Salamanders can also do a lot of damage to the party if they decide to use Blaze. Granted, it's the Chimera Sphinxes that tend to do more. They're the Abyss Worms. And the Abyss Worms use Twister 13, if I remember right.
That sounds right, yeah.
And that does a massive amount of damage. 2 haste tomes picked up by Poorscythe here and the shop behind the waterfall. Those will come into play against Final Emperor.
Cyclone 13, there it is.
That's what it is, Cyclone. I think I said Twister.
Yeah, they're the same thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
So there's an interesting bit. You don't get it on the Pixel Remasters, but there's an extension on this game you can get on other platforms. That essentially we get to follow the story of the 4 members that we lost along the way. So that'd be Joseph, I believe it's Tabul, Sid, and Ricard, as they are on essentially the Nigger world side of Pandemonium, where we face up against the Light Emperor. So essentially there's, and this is happening almost simultaneously with what's going on here with our 4 heroes.
Yeah, you get Minwu, you get Scott, you get Joseph, you get Ricard.
Minwu, not Tool. Thank you.
And they are going through the heavenly version of the Jade Passage, which is Rakia, and then the heavenly version of Pandemonium is Arubath. I've spent way too much time playing the Dawn of Souls side of things.
Yeah, it's unfortunate we don't get that for the Pixel Masters. Maybe they'll release it later down the line. But Pixel Masters are pretty much just the base vanilla game for all of them.
So there's more Cyclone 13, and there was the other reason that the Chimera Sphinxes or the Chimera Brains are really, really bad as a whole that caused Poorscythe to wipe, and that's bad breath. Bad breath in and of itself is just a nasty ability. But final floor of the Jade Passage, and then it'll be time to move into the Pandemonium Fortress, which is my favorite track in Final Fantasy II.
Yeah, definitely a lot of good music. For the Pixel Masters, you're able to play the music player from the main menu. If anyone is interested in finding stuff there. It's a great way to just put it in the background, just chill for a bit. Really cool addition, I think, as well as all the game art is included on the Pixel Masters.
Oh yeah. So this is it. This is the final dungeon. This is 10 floors, the hardest monsters you're going to see in the game. There is a lot that can go absolutely awry here.
And there's a lot that can go absolutely right here.
Oh
you
yeah.
just get a really good Pandemonium. So it's always a question. A lot of long floors. You know, how often do I want to quick save? It is a few seconds to quick save, so it can start adding up over time. But a reset can also put you back a few encounters.
It just all depends upon where you are on the floor when everything happens. Right now, Poorscythe is definitely looking pretty good going through here.
Yeah, but scary encounter there. Death Riders, if you remember from the beginning of the game, can hit for 600, and then those Mantis Devils can pretty much insta-death touch you. We have the Lamias and Lamia Queens, which are Confusion and Sleep Hits. We have... I'm trying to think of some of the other ones, but there's just a lot of scary encounters here.
The Coeurls with Blaster.
With Blaster, and they also have Death Touch, I believe, that procs
Yes,
almost all the time.
From what I've noticed, it's a 100% proc if you have been affected by Blaster.
Wow.
So they're very, very scary to see. But the Mithril Golems in and of themselves here, probably the most tame encounter in Castle Pandemonium. My heart sank for a second when I saw the text pop up, and then I read it was Preemptive Strike, and I was like, okay. Of course, Devil's Blooms are back here in Castle Pandemonium. They are Confuse and Poison. All these quick saves, though, are absolutely necessary, as this is the scariest dungeon in the game. Also, the dungeon that makes the most use of the hidden passages to skip so much of it.
And that also brings up another good point. So we're looking to flee here. So you can either have a regular battle, a preemptive battle, or ambush. Ambush, obviously, the enemy goes first, so it's the slowest. But a regular battle can actually be the fastest flee, because the preemptives, we have to wait for the text box to clear at the top, which is kind of interesting, where it's like, okay, yes, we want preemptives for almost an assured flee in Final Fantasy II, but if we can just get that insta flee in a regular encounter, it's a little bit faster.
Yeah, because just having to wait for the text box to clear, you're just losing a little bit more time. Talbrik making it through Palamecia and is soon to be entering the Jade Passage. Poorscythe getting close to the end of Pandemonium. This is looking real good. There's Blaster coming out for Sari. That's a little scary. All right, 8th floor for Poorscythe. Out of the 10 floors of Castle Pandemonium, this floor can usually go very quickly.
Yeah, I think
actually does.
We passed the longest floors for Poorscythe.
We did, but here's the King Behemoth, which is a fight that has to be taken, as it is one of the unrunnable fights.
Luckily, we have Leon down south taking care of it with that Sleep Blade and Blood Sword, just smacking for 1,000 to 2,000 damage. Woo.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, with the Blood Sword and the way that its damage works, 1/16 of the enemy's max HP per hit. But Poorscythe has made it to the top and is going to use the Blood Sword to finish this off.
So how this battle goes is we cast haste to do more damage, and then essentially just hope that Leon gets these hits off before we get a unfortunate something from Emperor 2.
Oh, 2 melee attacks from the Emperor. Unfortunately, going to have to retry the fight. But sometimes that is how it goes. 7 hits to start is massive. 6,500 damage. I think next turn should do it, unless, you know, slow lands. Gonna have to counteract that with another haste tome.
That's a very good thing. Poorscythe bought 2 haste tomes.
Still missing, unfortunately. Not looking too good. The Emperor is not like Chaos in FF1 exactly. He is a tough fight for sure, but because of how the Bloodsword works and the way that it does its damage, the fight is a lot easier than Chaos. Slow again.
Yeah, Emperor 2 used to be a lot easier pre-patch because you just get that sleep right away. So another one of those fights that changed up how you run 2.
Alright, once more with Gusto. Okay, slow did not hit Leon this time.
Meanwhile, Sari's going into Emperor 2 as well for Tonberry.
And that is it for Poorscythe. The Emperor goes down.
So that's time for Combo.
Sari is working on Emperor as well. Fortunately, gonna have to reset there.
Now it's time for Tonberry. So we get a little bit of time as Talbrik's making his way through the Jade Passage if next commentary team wants to introduce themselves.
Yeah, we're here for Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, and I am Valnor, joined by...
I'm FGKG.
And we are... go ahead.
We're going to introduce the runners. So we have Brainbug, who is for Team Chocobo.
Also known as New Kid.
Known as New Kid. We have Chirade, who is on Team Tonberry.
Also known as Ramza this run, apparently. And then we've got Mog Blaze Wolf on Team Mog. Eventually, when they get there. But we'll let you guys wrap up FF2 real quick.
So Talbrik unfortunately getting into a Green Dragon encounter. That is one of the unrunnable encounters that can come up. And almost into Castle Pandemonium. We'll still have the 10 floors of it to go through. But overall, still a fairly solid run from Talbrik, all things considered, with how RNG ended up playing.
Right, we're on to the Pandemonium runs.
So, I mean, granted, this is where the worst of everything can come into play. Pandemonium in and of itself. I mean, we saw two very tame Pandemoniums from Poorscythe and Cereth, excluding Emperor 2, but the question is, will we see another tame Pandemonium here for Talbrik? Oh, there's the sleep touch coming in from the Lamias. And unfortunately, an ambush from a Mithril Golem. Don't like to see that at all. So yeah, losing time due to the preemptive strike text showing up, as we mentioned earlier. Where it is nice to have the preemptives, unfortunately it doesn't work as a guaranteed run entirely. You still have the chance of failing the run, and in turn having to wait till turn 2.
Yeah, it's very interesting how the flea system, they decided to progress it. There's a few things you can really tell throughout the Final Fantasies where they change things up. So, for instance, flea in 1 is not as good as flea in 2, but flea in 2 you can still fail these fleas, of course. Same thing with potions, so deciding whether a regular potion heals 50 HP or 100 HP, and then same for high potions, 100 HP, 150 HP, or 500 HP. It varies quite a lot, so it's really nice to see as you just change Final Fantasies, the differences they just kind of played around with.
Yeah, it does lead to it being fairly interesting.
So Talbrik just got probably one of my favorite fights is the fire Gigas with the bombs. That's probably one of your safest fights you can get here in Pandemonium.
Yeah, as the Devil Wolves show up, and they can cast Fire 12, which will do a significant amount of damage. But so far, Talbrik actually having a pretty good run through Castle Pandemonium. Unfortunately has a bit of an error in movement there, and it leads to an ambush, but...
Love that dispel.
Not just one dispel, but we have to double dispel.
Just gotta make sure they definitely don't have Protect or anything on.
So, a question in chat, is this just bad RNG or is the encounter rate ridiculously high? The encounter rate in Pandemonium is very, very high.
Yeah, so for the Pixie Masters, there's no, if anyone's running, no step route. It's all based about how many steps you take, and that determines. So right now we're in an encounter. The game has already decided how many steps until the next encounter, but it hasn't decided which encounter that is. So if we saved after this, it's always going to be the same amount of steps, but that encounter can change. I think it's a refreshing change from like a step route, because it gives us a nice variety. So no run will be like any other.
Yeah, you don't have to memorize how many steps you have between each encounter in order to do a quick save and quick load with the PSP version, or even use an item in the Famicom version. Instead, it is just get into encounter, run. But Talbrik on floor 8 of 10, now approaching 9 of 10. Soon to see the end of Castle Pandemonium. Hopefully, I'm going to see some misses with self-destruct. Fire 16 going out from the Fire Gigas is a little painful, but not the end of the world.
Yep, as we are now on to our last screen, headed up into Emperor.
And there you are, 3 Fire Gigas and 1 encounter. That's a thing.
So we're specking out Leon for this last battle with Emperor 2 for Team Mog.
Putting him in the front row. And it is time to fight Emperor 2. And a preemptive. That's really nice to see. So we could see the one attempt and done here.
And that's
there
time
it
for
is.
Team Mog.